Cheers. That's the kind of quality entertainment you only get on YouTube.
That's visual humor in the lowest degree.
All right. Y'all ready?
Yep.
Sure.
Here goes that intro.
Should have dressed in a tuxedo. Next time.
Next 200.
Episode 400. Look out.
What up, nerds? Welcome to a landmark episode of Straight Chilling. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 200, recorded on Monday, January 28th, 2019. Tonight, we're actually not going to be reviewing a movie. We're going to have a bit of a retrospective episode. We're going to be taking a look back at the last 200 shows we have done. We're going to be playing some games. We're going to be looking at some stats. We're going to have a Q&A. We're going to be talking cooters. We got some various other surprises in store for you. Before we get into the show, let me introduce everyone else at the table this evening. First up, calling in from Santa Barbara, California, my boy Randy Gandy G Landy.
I hope you guys are ready for an episode filled with more self-indulgence than a Ghirardelli factory. We are going off the rails by filleting ourselves for nigh on 3 hours, I gotta think. So, here we go. Auld Lang Syne, motherfucker. Becky's at the door. I gotta go. I'm being interrupted.
Let that woman in.
End of episode.
Last but not least, calling in from Southern Korea, my boy Soju.
It's your boy! Soju locked and loaded, baby. Here we go.
Soju proper. Soju legit with the green bottle.
Yep, it's your boy, the classic green. Tune into YouTube for some exclusive footage of the soju.
Of Justin drinking soju. What's the flavor?
We got the grapefruit. There you go. You can see it right on there. You see that?
Oh, that's Korean's really easy to understand.
Yes, I know, especially with all those images.
It's very universal. Interesting.
Dark universe right there.
Yeah. Gentlemen, did you ever anticipate that we would, when we started the show, we would be 200 shows deep?
I thought I'd be dead by now.
1,000 years.
I assumed.
Here's a crazy little tidbit for you. We did 100 episodes not too long before I left for Korea. So I've almost done an equal amount of Straight Chillin' episodes in Korea as I did before I left for Korea.
That's true.
Man, they're very efficient over there.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a very efficient country. It makes sense.
Damn. Half in the States, half in Korea.
I know. And I think the last kind of official Screamin' and Creamin' was episode 100. We did that ice cream cake. We've had a couple fill-ins in between there, but it's been 100 episodes since a legit Screamin' and Creamin'. So if you don't know what Screamin' and Creamin' is,
you're not alone.
You're just a noob. You're not hardcore enough for the Straight Chillin' crew.
You're not hardcore enough for our ice cream review.
This Klondike is dope, motherfucker. It's got Reese's in it.
Oh shit! Fresh picked.
Dude, throwback.
Covered in morning dew.
They're so fresh.
Nice. Let's go ahead and take care of some housekeeping real quick. So the winner of the February poll pick is Audition.
Woo!
Yeah!
I'm really excited.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in a few years. I'm excited. It was my pick, which I'm excited about.
However, how could nobody vote for Ghost? Come on.
I think you really left I think you sabotaged yourself, man. It's a real
I think audition.
It's a real Jill Stein of an entry.
Too strong of a pick. Audition's just too good.
Whoopi Goldberg is freaking terrifying though, so I don't know why it got a goose egg. It should have got at least one vote.
I thought it would have been hilarious.
It would have been.
Look, that's an issue. Like, that's a movie you have to force on the world. It's not gonna come easy.
Yeah, somebody's gonna have to Patreon us into watching go.
Nobody's gonna do that.
You might have to Patreon us. You are the only driver in this crusade.
Come on, that would have been hilarious. You know it.
All right.
Nobody's gonna do that at all.
Audition. We're doing it.
Good. I am excited about that though.
So that means that at this current point in time, or shortly thereafter, the March poll pick will be posted on our Patreon website. We landed on something that I am excited about, actually. So the theme for March is going to be movies that Randy would hate.
There's a lot.
We all picked a movie that we think Randy will hate, and the three that we landed on are Dracula 2000, 2000, House of Wax, not the Vincent Price House of Wax. We're talking the Paris Hilton House of Wax.
Oh, the good one.
Yeah, the good one. And Queen of the Damned.
Strap in, Randy.
Yeah.
Dracula 2000 is the only one among them that I have actually seen, so I am certainly the opposite of excited. Whatever the opposite of excited is, that's where I'm at. I've seen Dracula 2000, and boy, I could fill this whole 3 hours complaining about that motherfucker.
Nice. So if you support us on our Patreon website at the $5 level or above, you can vote between those three movies, and the winner will be a movie that we discuss sometime in March. What else we got? YouTube channel still going strong. We're just a few subscribers away from 100. Once we hit 100, we'll get that custom URL, which is something we've been fishing for. And Twitch, you want to talk about Twitch a little bit, Juice?
Yeah, Twitch. If you are into gaming, you can watch a live stream of us playing some horror games at twitch.tv/Straight Chilling Podcast. We have finished the game for January. There will be a new game for February, and you can tune in live. You can chat live, or if you can't make the live stream, we always upload to YouTube as well, so you can check out those games and the reviews for those games on YouTube or Twitch.
Sweet. So let's go ahead and get into the meat of the show here. We have
meat.
Let's get to the meat of this taco. We have various different kind of segments that we're gonna do that I don't really think we've done any of them before, actually. So the first thing that we wanted to tackle on episode 200, we get a lot of questions about what a cooter is, which makes perfect sense.
A ton of questions.
Yeah, like a whole lot.
Most people are tired of us inventing shit. They just want to know what the fuck we're talking about.
Like, yeah, what are these lunatics raving about? What the fuck is a cooter? So we decided to take a moment and present the cooter profile, the definitive cooter profile, so that should anyone have a question, we can point back to this episode as sort of a touchstone that will be very clear in describing exactly what a cooter is. So
it's a living document, people.
It is.
Expect adjustments as the science.
So yeah, Justin, you're the cooter king. You're the cooter master, master of ceremonies. I'm gonna hand it over to you. And
the Van Helsing of cooterdom.
That's exactly right.
All right. Well, let's kick it off. So it has been just about a year now since we officially started tracking the cooter, since we were building the profile. So in that time, we have made the graph. We have tracked them every episode that we do. So let's go ahead and talk about them. First and foremost, a cooter is a type of person. It's like a character. Very prevalent in horror movies, not exclusive, but that's not our realm. So we're talking horror movies here. Very prevalent in 80s movies, some 70s movies as well, but they're still carrying on into modern day. And we could go ahead. We'll talk about what makes the cooter the cooter. We'll talk about the graph, how we track them, how we determine them. And then we'll talk about some of our favorite cooters from earlier this year, so you can kind of get, an idea of maybe what a cooter looks like. So
I need another drink.
All right, boys. The 4 points that we're landing on, that I think we have rooted ourselves in, is manipulation. A cooter is usually manipulative, or they can be highly manipulative, trying to, stir up some bullshit. Sexual deviancy, I think, is a big one for the cooter. Like, the cooter always seems like some kind of creeper, usually. Some kind of creeper. So
if you're a sexual deviant, there's at least a 50% chance you're gonna land on the cooter spectrum.
Yeah.
It's weighted.
That's probably it's probably heavily weighted to the sexual deviancy, and I feel like another heavy weighted one is the smug arrogance. Smug arrogance. So like on the two, like the left side, I've got smug arrogance because that's like a heavy one. Right side is sexual deviancy, and then the two like variable ones is the manipulation, and then attire too, because sometimes the attire really kind of pulls the cooter together, and you know it when you see it. You're like, attire. What do they have to wear, like a hat or something? It's like there's like the outfits that it's a cooter.
You know it. You know it when you see it for sure.
You feel it in your gut.
Yeah, and you'll hear us mention too, like this like ghost point too, and that's like an overall kind of shittiness, but it can't make the official chart because like it weighs it out too much. Like I don't think I've ever seen a cooter that's not shitty. So it's kind of like part of the territory. It's just like how shitty are they?
We're talking like how deserving of repercussions are they? Is really that what that points to. Sometimes they're just like, I'm a little smug, arrogant, but you don't, in a horror movie, comes in the form of a fucking knife in your throat or whatever. Sure. Sometimes a character can be a little smug without being a cooter. So they don't necessarily deserve the knife, but damned if most of them don't.
Absolutely, and that's a good point, Randy. One of the big things about the cooter that's like really intriguing to me that we've brought up, especially like in the 80s movies where they were like very prevalent, is a lot of the times like just because they're like the cooter of a movie doesn't necessarily mean they're the villain of the movie.
No, not at all.
I feel like more
often than not in the 80s.
Yeah, more in the 80s. More in modern times, they're kind of starting to fuse them together, kind of like a Mandy. But back in the day, the like intriguing thing about the cooter to me was they were people that you wanted to die. So they're like the one kind of moment where you're like behind the killer's eyes, or you're like sympathizing almost with the killer. You're like, you want that person to die. Everybody else, you're kind of like following along with like the Scream Queens, or like everybody, like, oh, survive and run this way. And that's where the tension comes from. But like the murderous bloodlust that you can feel is towards ending the cooter's life. Like they're so usually like deserving of a death that you want the killer to get them.
To put it in a real world example, a real life cooter might be somebody like Martin Shkreli, the pharmadouche. That's a person who, no matter what bad thing happens to him, you always smile bigger. So that's what we're talking. It's Schadenfreude at its worst. It's a kind of person that's so shitty that they make you a shitty person towards them. Yeah. So there you go.
And some examples of cooters that are not villains of the story are the orderly in Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Do you guys remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The orderly. So
he was giving drugs to the addict.
Yeah, and like feeling him up and stuff. Yeah. Just being a real piece of shit. Yeah.
Good
a bunch in Friday the 13th. What was it? Part 6 that we recently covered?
That was part 4.
Was that part 4?
Final chapter.
Final chapter.
Yeah. So that dude, what's that guy at the beginning, Rob? What's that guy? He made the cooter of the week.
Oh, I can't remember his name.
Axel?
But yeah,
is it Axel?
Axel, yeah.
We have all the data, but we refuse to reference it.
So Axel, Axel from Friday the 13th, part 4, and there were some other ones in there too. So there's some good cooters in there.
You got your you got plenty of fucking cooters.
Night of the Creeps. Brah.
Yeah, Bradster from Night of the Creeps, he's on the list. Daniel from Annihilation, the shitty like side piece from Annihilation.
Yeah.
And
what's his dick from Invitation?
Who's
a perma until he gets to Hill House.
But he is actually the antagonist, though. I'm trying to highlight the ones that, that aren't necessarily the villain. Yeah. And then the dentist from Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah.
He's the type of villain, but he's not the villain.
Mm-hmm.
for that story.
So just to give you an idea of what a cooter might look like, you can reference some of those movies and really pin it down. Take a look at the charts. Also, just to mention some modern ones, kind of how it's developed. Some ones we've covered. This Jeremiah Sand.
Jeremiah.
He is like the ultimate cooter, but he's also like the main villain of the story, which is kind of where modern cooters have kind of developed to. This Lola and her dad from The Loved Ones.
Yeah.
So these are some examples of cooters. You can like really see like what is the cooter. So when we say cooter of the week, when we're talking about it, this is our reference point. You can come to episode 200. You can get a full, rundown. We've been tracking them for a year now. We've got it locked in. We've got the profile filled out. We know how to spot them. We want you to know how to spot them. So please,
The more you know.
Yes, the more you know. Rainbow sound or whatever that goes across.
Rainbow sound. The famous rainbow sound.
Yeah, so that is the Cooter Pro. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Cooters later in the show, some of our faves and Cooters of the year and whatnot. But this is the reference point. That is the Cooter profile that we've been building for the past year now. Thank you for all your help, Cooter hunters of the world. Thank you.
The first time I heard the word cooter, and like kind of the reason I started saying it, me personally anyways, I was watching that thing you do. Like Tom Hanks's character is discussing with the band some like music producer, and he's talking about how he's kind of a pain in the ass to work with, and then mid sentence he stops and just goes, "Well, he's the biggest cooter I ever saw." Like, the first time I ever heard
it comes down from on high, on the tablets brought forth by Tom Hanks, our Lord and Savior. Comes the word cooter.
And that is a movie that we have all enjoyed together many times.
Yeah, I quit the soundtrack on tape when I was like 8.
I've only ever quit my jobs by singing it because of that movie.
I quit.
I love that movie. Nice. Thanks, Justin. Thank you for clarifying, and I'm sure future listeners are going to be very stoked that you did so. So something that we're going to be doing throughout this episode, we have like various sound bites that were sent in from friends of the show, and we're going to be dispersing those throughout the episode as we go. So we're going to play the first one for you here. It's just a few minutes long. This is going to be coming from our buddy Shane Bassett from Australia. He's been a guest on a few of our shows, and he's somebody that we've known for a little while. And if it weren't for Straight Chilling podcast, we never would have met this guy. It just wouldn't have happened. I mean, he lives worlds away, and it's through the magic of the interwebs we met. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip for you here now, and we'll hear from Shane. Here you go. Thanks, Shane. Thanks for the kind words, man. We really do. We really do appreciate that.
That was great. I'm sorry, I have to say, the funniest thing in the world to me is how it went from these guys know their stuff. They're all these other podcasts, they're full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about. And they talked about me watching the wrong fucking movie. Fucking mess.
Really on point.
We're really on our game always. Trust it.
Yeah.
Shane's not lying. He made a point to say directly that he's not lying. So
I will say that Bordello Blood episode is a funny ass episode.
Yeah, that was a really, really good time.
Yeah.
I remember that specifically.
I've still never seen the fucking.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, if you want just a classic, great straight chilling episode, Bordello Blood.
Who doesn't want to
it's a
fuck
good
Billy Zane? I mean, honestly.
Randy just wanted a bit of Billy Zane. I love that.
I just want to take Billy Zane and fuck his mouth, you know? That's it. It's pretty obvious. You think about it.
That's what really happened.
And hey, look, the Bogan, you know, the international cooter.
Yeah.
Now we gotta start tracking them by country and, you know, get the full profile of like all the terms, you know.
We need to start sharing information with other
horror podcasts.
Yeah, other horror podcasts, police forces across
worldwide.
We should like specifically find out the difference in attire, because I'm sure like a cooter in America would wear something different than a cooter in Australia would. I wonder what that difference would be.
Like the chavs in Britain.
Yeah. I'd like to. Yeah, we could have like side-by-side comparisons and post them on the website.
There we go. All right.
Law and Order Cooter Unit on the pro.
We're on. This is our new mission. We built the profile, and now we have to put it to good use.
Yeah, just have like a quick pocket reference guide. You can pull it out and see if they're wearing a stupid jacket. Be like, yeah, but it's right here. It's right here in the Cooter Manifesto. Yeah, that's one. But yeah, thanks again, Shane. We really do appreciate it. We always enjoy having you on the show. And it's sort of like, you know, the words were very kind, and coming from someone who's like a legitimate, he like actually reviews movies and talks to like film directors and actors and actresses. Like he actually does that for a job. So, you know, we don't take his words lightly. We really do appreciate it, man. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda, we're going to play a game, I guess. So this is Randy's baby. Right now, we're calling it, we're referring to it as
Billy Zane.
Stats.
Straight stats.
Straight stats.
Stats.
So
take it, Randy. It's all yours.
No problem. So in our ever growing quest to stop being so fucking full of shit, I started actually keeping track of our scores at one point during our run, and created a nice long spreadsheet with every episode, every score, who scored it, averages, all sorts of shit. So these are questions that I have culled from that list, and sort of points of interest. So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions. We're going to do the sort of a quiz sort of thing, which is going to be a running theme tonight. But these are just sort of like little guessing games for you guys. So I'm going to run through about 7 questions here. You guys ready to roll?
Ready,
Randy.
All right. So for our first question is, who is the most generous scorer on average between the three of us? That's Juice, Rob, and Randy. So between the three of us, who do you think has the highest average score for all of the movies that we've reviewed?
I think I probably do.
You think so?
I think so.
What makes you say that? Any particular reason?
I don't know. I feel like I'm usually like kind of generous after the discussion, and then sometimes I like go back and think like, maybe that was too high. I don't. So maybe it's just my personal like inner dialogue. Like what's enough? I'm just like, I feel like I like feel that way often. So maybe that's just in my mind, where I'm like, maybe that was a little too high on that movie.
That's all right, Bob. What about you? What do you think?
I was gonna say I think I am.
Oh, so maybe it's just our own. Yeah, I guess it just depends too. Me and Rob have like over the years have really shifted though too. Me and Rob have deterred like in our preferences and stuff. Yeah. So usually me and Rob are kind of like on the opposite ends these days. Yeah. So maybe it's just like when
I've
it's a
drawn
movie
you into
like,
the dark side. I've molded you by it. No, the answer to this question is you're both fucking wrong. I am the most generous.
It's Randy
of all of us.
That is highly surprising.
We're just conceited assholes.
I'm so giving.
I guess, I mean, the phrasing isn't meant to be flattering. It's actually, to me, sort of a mark of shame for the reason that you mentioned, because I think that I'm being a little too forgiving of movies. But then again, here's the numbers. Here's by the numbers, so you can get an idea of what we're talking about. I have the most generous average score with 3.27 out of 5, which is right near average. 3 being an average.
Yeah.
Or 2.5 really, because we kind of go by half. We go through the decimals and all that. But
yeah,
I'm in being generous to us. I would say 3 is where we should be for a mediocre film. Sure. Juice 3.22. So you're only 0.05 beneath me on this score. And then Rob, you're 3.13. So you have the highest disparity, but it's all pretty much the same realm. And we're actually all not significantly, but considerably, like there's a consideration towards being above whatever our mid mark is, which if we're counting it as 3, which is already generous, we're all going above that. So either we are just very down for whatever, and we're very forgiving for shit, which is very possible, certainly for me, and I know for Rob and Juice, you've had your moments as well. But I think really it's a matter of us talking about subject matter we like, which is fucking horror movies. So of course we're going to skew positive because we fucking feel positively about this subject we want to talk about every week. So I hope that's what it is.
At least we're not averaging like a 4 or 5,
Yeah.
We have some discretion.
You know what I think's really interesting, or what will be interesting maybe for the next 100 episode, or like in the next 100 episode, like episode, oh well, goddamn, okay, whatever is. Now we don't do the picks anymore ourselves. So before we were like doing a rotation, like, oh, I pick a movie, so of course it's going to be a movie like I want to watch, and then Rob, and then Randy. But we don't do that anymore. So I'm curious to see,
we don't have as much influence. That's true.
Yeah, how the numbers will shift away from like if we think it's positive, if we think it's negative. Now we're doing Patreon picks, we're doing like movies, we're doing the poll picks. So I'm curious to see if that'll shift in the next 100 episodes.
We'll find out. So for our number 2 question is sort of in a similar vein. Who of our former and current castmates, so this is everybody who's ever been a castmate on the show, has the highest received the highest average score on their personal picks, and who received the lowest? So this is sort of 2 answers here. Who do you think received the highest average rating on all of their picks, and who received the lowest? So just for reference, for everybody who's listening, there's the 3 of us: Rob, Juice, myself, Randy. There's Cesar, there's Drew, there's Ross, there's Jack. Am I leaving anybody out? Brad. And yeah, so out of that crew, who do we think?
I think the lowest is Rick Ross.
I would agree with Ross being the lowest.
I think Rick Ross is the lowest. He used to just pick some wild ass movies. And the reason I think that sticks in my mind is I think our lowest rated episode or close was Ghost of Mars, and I know Ross picked that, so that's sticking out in my mind.
Well, he did pick, that's for sure.
Yeah, Rick Ross. So
what about highest?
Highest.
I'm kind of leaning towards Drew because Drew wasn't on for too long, but I remember him picking some pretty solid movies.
He also picked some dog shit movies too.
Yeah, he picked some. He picked like The Visitor, which if you smoke weed and watch The Visitor. Holy shit. But I remember him picking some really solid stuff too, like Pet Sematary, and I think he might have chosen The Thing at some point.
Oh, you picked that, Rob.
Did he pick The Fly? I don't know. I just remember him picking some good stuff.
Randy picked that. I think it's between maybe me or Bob on the highest.
Yeah.
Except we've picked more, so that might bring the average down.
Yeah.
I just know, like, at one point I was picking like Trick or Treat. Everybody gave that like a 5. Like, we were trying to pick movies we liked, so it's hard.
So go ahead.
I'll say Bob though. I'll say Bob.
You say Bob. Okay. Well, you guys are wrong on everything. So let's go through this.
Damn.
Starting with the well, I mean, there's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of people to pick from, so it's understandable. Yeah. But we've got for the highest on average. You guys are going to be pretty red-faced here because it is Ross. Ross received the highest average. 3.28 out of 5 on 17 different picks that he had. So those movies included, so you can get an idea of the breadth here. He had Cabin in the Woods, he had Event Horizon, he had Deep Blue Sea, he had The Mist, he had Ghosts of Mars, and that's, like I said, only 5 of 17 rather.
That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there, and like you guys kind of made the same mistake I did. When Ross dropped out, it was a little bit after we sort of like consolidated a little bit, everything kind of like reformed and rebooted. Ross was on our team with us at that point, so he was still picking and still getting a lot of picks in there. And he's got fucking 17 movies of varying quality, certainly. Ghosts of Mars, looking at your...
Okay, yeah, that just sticks out in my mind,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I think that influenced my pick as well. Just I remember that specifically. Drew giving that as 0, and that never happened before. Yeah.
And now here's the kicker. The lowest. It's poetic almost. Ross's twin brother, the Godfather himself, Jack.
Okay.
Score, which was the 2.78 average on 8 films, which is still pretty medium. This is still a game of inches, so it's not a huge disparity. But his picks included, and I picked some good, some bad. Or no, most of these are good. Most. Includes Scanners, which we all pretty much liked. Poltergeist, we liked. The Ring. Extraterrestrial, which was a clunker. For me anyway. Godzilla.
Yeah.
So Godzilla, and that was Godzilla 2015, or the newest one. So yeah, you got a few in there that are good, a few that are bad, but it just so happens by the numbers, it's Jack. So these twins are like on the opposite side of the spectrum. But again, it's a game of inches. So when you said, Juice, that it was between you and Bob, you weren't too far off, because Ross received 3.28 average, and you received 3.21, putting you in the second spot.
Okay.
And let's see, Bob, you were in the third spot with 3.05. I actually am now remembering I should have said this earlier. I was not including Brad because his picks, he only had like 5 picks, so I didn't
got to hit like the 10 mark or something.
I didn't think it was fair to him to like hold him to such a small sample. So so there we go. And we're on to number 3. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
In the first 100 episodes, we had 2 episodes which were granted a 5 out of 5 score. And those movies were Trick or Treat and Stranger Things Season 1. That's episode 46 and 72, respectively. Okay. Since then, we have had 2 more 5 of 5 scores. And I just want you guys to name them. If you can name even one of them, that'd be great.
The Shining.
The Shining.
Fuck yeah, we just did that one. Yeah. All right, The Shining.
That was one of my poll picks.
The next one's a little harder.
Yeah, another 5.
Is it a show? Is that why it's hard?
I'll give you a hint. It's not a show.
Okay.
Not a show.
Fuck.
By the way, The Shining is episode 192 for the interested.
Yeah.
Did we cover Halloween in the second 100 episode, like in the second half?
No, I think
I don't know if
earlier.
we did, but that's not
and that wasn't a 5, I remember. Son of a
Scream?
You want to tap out, just let me know. Not Scream.
No. Not Scream.
I mean, if you get this answer right, you're a pretty clever girl, I gotta say.
Jurassic Park. Oh my god.
Jurassic Park, which
both that we covered like in the past 6 months, right?
Episode 180, as picked by our patron and friend Brett. So, Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park being one of our more contentious episodes because pretty much the entire episode was centered around the question of whether or not it's horror. And many people disagree with the conclusion that it's horror-ish at least. But whatever. And we all like the fucking movie for the most part. Probably too generous to give it a 5, where The Thing sits on the outskirts of that fucking rating.
That's my fault. That's my fault.
It's my fault. All of our faults. We all gave it a 5, so it's on all of us. But
no, I'm talking about The Thing. The fact that The Thing didn't have a 5-star.
Oh well, flagellate yourself later. But all right, here we go. And then we're going into number 4 here. This one's a quick one. What do you think is the average rating that we gave as a group overall? That includes every rating given on the show.
Wait, what? Say the question again.
The average rating that we have given to any movie, all movies overall throughout the film, throughout the show, and includes every reviewer, including guests.
Okay, everything altogether.
3.3.
Yeah, it's got to be in the 3. I'll say 3 even.
3 even. Rob's gonna take it on that one. It is 3.15 out of 5. So we are just off of center on. Like as a group.
Yeah.
So yeah, our professionalism's really showing. There we go. We're real impartial.
Right. Real neutral there.
Real neutral. So number 5, here we go. Who has given the most scores of a 0.5 out of the 3 of us? Who out of the 3 of us has given a 0.5 the most?
I'd say Randy.
Think so, okay. Bob?
I think maybe me.
Bob's gonna take it on this one. Bob.
Bob killing it.
Rob, you gave 7.5 scores throughout the course of our show, and those films were as follows: Serbian film, Ghosts of Mars, Jigsaw, Halloween.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like 2.5, 3.5, like integrals of 0.5. I gotcha. Oh, okay. My bad. Okay.
Okay, well, whatever. You got it wrong. Halloween 07, Puppet Master 89, Creep, and The Banshee Chapter. A film I have still not seen.
I remember that.
Creep, by the way.
You want to know? So, Rob, you got 7. Who wants the juice? And Rob, you want to guess who came in second out of the 3 of us?
Okay, so 0.5. Randy.
Yeah, I think I'll just go with Juice to be different.
All right, Juice it is. It is 5.5 scores for Juice.
God
Those films being
a Serbian like a chump over here, Bob.
A Serbian film, The Mummy 17, Visitor, The Love Witch, and Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. And finally comes in me, Paltrow 2, 2.5.
Wow.
Which are very well deserved, in my opinion. Serbian film and The Mummy 17. So, yeah. I think
that's fair. That's all fair.
I don't know how
I am not wrong
on
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
0.5.
Taken?
Yeah, you were. I was saying, I don't know how I didn't give The Mummy 2017 a 0.5. I guess I gave it a 1.
I don't know. I can look it up, but I don't know why you would give it more than a 0.5 either.
That's shocking.
So, in that same vein, question 6, who has given the most scores of a 5-star between the 3 of us? 5 perfect score.
I don't think it's me.
I think it might be me as well.
I think I'm gonna go Randy.
You're gonna go me, Rob. You're gonna go with yourself.
Yeah, I think so.
As always, Rob.
Fuck Rob.
No. Juice, you got it.
Oh, okay.
Well,
fuck Rob.
Yeah.
Let me change my tonoscope.
And this is where our skew really becomes very obvious, especially for me. I gave 19 5-star scores.
Wow.
Rob, you gave 15. And Juice, you have given 11. So we're all in the double digits for 0.5 scores. There are some movies that we were either grossly unfair to and in a positive way, or that we love enough of these fucking movies to where
that's not too bad out of 200. Yeah, 11. I only gave 11. That's pretty. I mean, that's like what 5%. I mean,
you get to compare favorably, so fuck you. So for a sample of my own 5-star films: The Shining, Hill House, Haunting on Hill House, Ghost Watch, The Witch. Rob, you gave 5 stars to Stranger Things Season 1, Return of the Living Dead, It Follows, and Sleepaway Camp. And a lot of these we all gave 5s to, or several of us did. And then Juice, you gave 5s to The Burbs, to The Conjuring, to Housebound, and Jurassic Park. Sure. So we got that. And finally, our last question for spreadsheets. I know you guys are sick of fucking numbers, and who wouldn't blame you?
It's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
So,
well done, Randy.
Only us, but
thank you very much. Yeah, nobody else gives a shit. But 7, what has been the movie that has featured, this is kind of difficult to explain maybe, but features the widest score gap between different hosts? So which film has the widest disparity in between, like, say, Juice's score and my score?
Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
That's a good one.
Okay.
Because I know, like, I gave it 0.5 and Old Bish gave it 5, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Shit, yeah. So that has to be it.
Well, no, there's a couple other movies, like maybe Sleepaway Camp, because that's also. What I was thinking,
because I know I gave it a 5, and I don't remember what you gave it, but I'm sure
probably I think like a 0.5. So it's like Sleepaway in the same vein. Yeah. So I'll go Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
You are correct. You are correct. And that it is exactly what you described. It is the widest disparity possible of 4.5 points disparity between yourself and Cesar. So, but, that's not really the one that I'm interested in. That's one that was pretty obvious to anybody, or to all of us who have experienced the show, living it. But what do you think the number 2 might be? Let's go with number 2.
I mean, Sleepaway Camp was the only other one that popped in my mind that was like, because I feel like I had the same kind of reaction where Bob like loved it. And I was like this, or also Creep. Like we were like fine on Creep, but well, I don't think we rated it as high as a 5 though. So I just remember Bob like Sleepaway Camp 5, and I was like, nope, nah. So that's the only other one that was so polarizing. I know Rob hated Creep. But I don't think anybody just like loved it though.
Maybe Halloween, the original Halloween.
No, nobody would have rated it that low. What about Evil Dead 2 maybe? That's a throwback though. That's so old. Like we did that. I don't know. Sleepaway Camp.
Bob, Sleepaway Camp with you?
Yeah.
You guys are wrong. It's not even on my board here. We got for number 2 spot is The Burbs, a 3.5 point difference between Rob, you, and Juice. Rob, you, and Juice, and Cesar.
Oh, okay.
You and Juice gave it a 5. Cesar gave it a 1.5. Wow. So it's a difference of 3.5. That is.
Sometimes I don't understand Cesar's rating, like how he gets to his numbers. I don't get it.
As somebody who doesn't understand my own rating system most of the time, I gotta say it's true. And just for reference, here's a couple of runner-ups for you, and I don't know if this is all of them, but these are tied for 3-point difference. We have Friday the 13th Part 6 with a 3-point difference between Rob, you, and Ross of 3 points. That's Rob, you gave it a 4, Ross a 1. And then the WNUF Halloween special, a 3-point difference between Rob, you, a 4.5, and Juice, you, a 1.5. So
yeah,
there you go.
That deserves better than a 1.5.
No, it doesn't, dude. It's
man.
So cheap.
They're making a sequel. Yeah, it's cheap.
Whatever. They're making a sequel? Why?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So there you go. There's spreadsheet questions, straight stat chillings, and like chilling with stats and shit.
Straight stats.
200 years worth of numbers. 200 years.
200.
Been doing this for a long fucking time.
200 years.
We are immortal.
Scores.
Straight stats. All right. Sorry, I got excited. So let's hear from another friend of the show. This little clip here is going to be coming from our friend in Orlando, Anthony from Ghoulish Cast and Something Ghoulish on YouTube. It's going to be a few minutes long. So let's go ahead and see what Anthony has to say. Here we go.
Ooh, I
Thanks,
like
Anthony.
that sign off. Good stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember meeting Anthony at our live show at Sunray, and he'd been kind of like contacting us through Twitter, and through meeting him like in person, he was like, "Hey man, yeah, I'm Anthony." I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah," and I kind of remembered talking to him online. He's like, "Yeah, I drove up from Orlando," and when he said that, I didn't realize that he came up from Orlando, or that Something Ghoulish was like based out of Orlando until he said that. I was like, it kind of blew my mind. I was like, man, you drove like 2 hours to listen to our dumbasses talk about a movie. Like, I don't know. It just sort of it was very flattering, and also just through talking to Anthony at our live show, and since we've been in contact. He's a genuinely awesome dude, and if you haven't checked out his YouTube channel, Something Ghoulish, definitely do it. It's worth your time for sure.
You might have noticed there's a sound quality barrier there. Fucking Anthony with his tight ass production. That shit extends to the YouTube as well. That's a fucking well-oiled machine, and it's a fairly new channel that is right out of the gates, like knocking fucking homers right out of the park for my money. So talking about horror genres and things, I recommend it. I'm a Patreon of that myself, so give money to them. Fuck us.
The big thing, like, too, for me, it's kind of a bummer, is I have never actually been able to interact with Anthony so far. I wasn't at the live show where he went. I Skyped in, but I wasn't there to meet him and greet everybody. And then I missed out on the Suspiria episode because it wasn't playing here in Korea, and he was on that episode. But I will say his videos are like super impressive, and also his insight on the Suspiria episode, like, I really enjoyed it. Like, listening back, just as a listener, I wasn't on that particular cast, but his insight and like, that dude's like super knowledgeable, and we need to get him back on when I'm on, because like so far it's
gonna be
like
a fucking Daenerys meets Tyrion moment with that shit.
So
you're Daenerys.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Because of your tits.
Because of my hot tits, yeah. I appreciate that. So yeah, that seems like a really cool guy, and the work that he does and his like knowledge is pretty great.
Yeah, it's good definitely stuff. I'm pretty impressed with that shit. So.
And also, just to speak about Sunray a little bit specifically, which is where we had our first live show, they announced today, it's sort of off topic, but they announced today that Joe Bob Briggs is coming through town this July.
My boy, Dick Bibbs.
I took a steaming shit in my pants when I read that. Right in my pants.
Damn, dude.
So Sunray,
draws.
I know. Sunray does a lot of really cool stuff. They're also like very... they support the community, local filmmakers, podcasts, people like us. They're just like very involved in artists and like building the culture in the city, and I appreciate the hell out of them. And they're just cool people. I don't know. Just wanted to mention that real quick.
Yeah, if you're in the Jax area, check out the Sunray. You won't regret it. You'll play some pinball. You'll eat some popcorn, and you'll watch some dumbass podcasters fumble through a goddamn introduction to a movie.
This is a zombie movie. It's kind of funny, but it's also kind of not funny.
Right, our friend in the clouds? Yes. That's Justin phoning in from Korea.
Our friend in the clouds.
Thank you for coming.
Yes. Yes. It's a good movie.
I don't know why Justin sounds like that all of a sudden.
He's a voice modulator. It's very sweet.
So the next little segment we got lined up here.
God, are you guys? Our audience is fatigued. I know they are.
No, they're definitely not. We, as has been mentioned on the past few episodes, we've been soliciting people to send in some questions to us for a Q&A segment. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that right now. We've got some good questions from several people, and we're going to answer them as was promised. So let's go ahead and do it. Do you guys have the questions pulled up?
Oh, I have the question.
Okay.
We got the questions.
I figured we could just like round table it.
I got more questions than Arby's has meats, so we're ready to go.
Speaking of meats, question number 1.
That's
right.
Justin, Justin, you want to take it?
Yeah.
Question number 1. We just gonna go through all of Michael's questions, or what do we?
Let's blast through Michael's question. So real quick, just to clarify, this is Michael. He sent us like 10 questions, and he is one of the hosts of Horror Apocalypse podcast. We've been in contact. If you haven't checked out Horror Apocalypse,
STDs were traded.
definitely do. We locked legs and swapped gravy.
Oh Jesus!
So we've got a lot of questions to get through. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Question for each of you. So for everyone, how do you like your burgers? What's the best non-beef burger you've had? I will say personally, if somebody asks me like, how do you want it? Or, like, how do you want it cooked? I usually just say medium. I like it, a little pink.
Yeah.
A pink on.
Me too. Medium.
I'm a man of simplicity. I'm a medium. I've gone medium rare a few times, but I make a mess. So
yeah, I like a medium. So as far as non-meats, we used to have a tradition where we'd always go for bison burgers on
non-meats, not
non-beef. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
We used to go get bison burgers on the 1st every year at Ted's, and those were
more
good.
Traditions than the goddamn This Is Us cast.
Yeah, alligator. I've had alligator burger down in that down in the backwoods of Jacksonville. Of
Clark's
course,
Fish Camp.
Not that one. There's one where you like pull your boat up to, like it's like on the swamp, dude.
That's
I can't remember.
Clark's.
It's like
there's Clark's and there's
Black
Whitey's
Creek?
Fish Camp. I don't know which creek it's on.
Okay, I don't know.
There's a few.
Yeah, there's a few. So I've had alligator burgers, obviously like mushroom burgers instead of meat. There was this place, I went to Dallas and viewed the Cowboy Stadium, and right outside there was actually a pretty cool burger place. Ooh, Bullet. God damn, Randy.
That's what I'm drinking too.
Oh, God, fuck you guys. Randy's showing off his Bullet bourbon, which I love. There was a place outside of the Dallas Cowboys stadium that was like had all these crazy meat burgers, and we went there, and they also had a pickle bar which was fucking dope because I love pickles. They had a pickle bar, and I think if I remember correctly, I got a kangaroo burger. Like if I remember.
Whoa, you ate Rocco, you motherfucking.
So, but I gotta say, the best one I guess is still probably like the bison. That like sticks out in my mind is the bison burgers. They're so like tender. I love the meat in the bison burger.
Bison was my second choice, or not second choice, but was one that I considered. But I actually just yesterday, for the first time. Let me say this to start. A few months ago, I was contracted to do a little work on a presentation for a company called Beyond Meat, which sounds very heavy duty, but what it is basically like it's a faux beef patty.
Yeah.
As Beyond Burgers or faux beef patty, they have other products too.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I watched, in order to do my job, I had all these videos I had to move around and stuff, and I watched a few of them, and some were like people taste testing them and being like, this tastes just like fucking beef. It bleeds. It's got beet juice instead of blood.
Damn.
It's fucking. It's a burger patty that is supposed to be exactly like a beef patty, and we had it for the first time last night. It's not very widely available, and I gotta say it's pretty impressive. Like, it's not 1-to-1 comparison, but it's pretty fucking good. The problem is that it's more expensive for obvious reasons. But I mean, I was pretty impressed with it. So I love bison burgers. That would have been my answer. I haven't had I don't have a huge array. I haven't eaten fucking kangaroo, I'll tell you that. I've had a Beyond Burger, and I was delightfully surprised at how close to the taste of beef they got it, so that if I ever went full vegan or something, I know that there's at least a little bit of that flavor I can get.
There you go.
So, there you go.
Yeah, I'm going with, as far as like non-beef burger, Ted's Montana Grill. You get the bison burger. You pull up, you get the George's Cadillac burger, which is basically like a bacon cheeseburger with barbecue sauce on it.
From the parking lot, because you've just pulled.
You just pull, it's like a McDonald's. You get the bison instead of the beef. You get the onion rings instead of the French fries, and it's like heaven. It's fucking great, man.
That's a good deal right there.
That's great. Yeah. That's how I like my burger. Question number 2. I'll take it. This is a question for Juice specifically.
Yeah.
Juice, do you realize you sound a little like Kevin Smith?
Say the word cat. Say cats.
Cats?
Yeah, that's Smithism.
Yeah, and here's the thing about this question, I guess. I'm not a real big Kevin Smith guy. I know a lot, like he's got that kind of like cult status as like a figure, and I know he's done some things. I've just never been either. I've just never been like in his realm. So, and of the things I have seen, I'm like not too big a fan of, like especially God, what's that, Tusk? Fucking hate that movie.
Tusk.
I know you do.
It's
know
so
you do.
Good.
And it's just, that's one of those polarizing things between me and Bob. So I didn't realize the only thing I've really invested in as far as Kevin Smith is he told this story once about Prince, because I really love Prince. He told the story about making like a documentary, making a movie with Prince, and I found that really interesting. So that's as far as Kevin Smith goes, other than just like hating Tusk and some of his other like shitty movies. I don't really know much about Kevin Smith, so apparently I sound a little like him. I don't know. You guys be the judge.
I'd never really considered that before. I've listened to his podcast a handful of times. I'm not like a huge fan of his podcast, but he has several of them. I'm a fan of his films for sure. Not all of them, but most of them, I would say. I never really. I don't know that I would agree. I don't think you sound like Kevin Smith, but I think it's very hilarious that someone else thinks.
Yeah, I mean,
especially because you don't care.
No, yeah, or no, even.
I don't particularly like. I don't particularly hear it myself, but I like Kevin Smith. I've always been at least an apologist in his worst, in his Jersey Girl world. I was an apologist, but I don't really hear it for that, but I think he's a good guy, so I don't know. I like his other work.
And it's kind of interesting too, because we've all grown up together. You've heard my voice for,
I mean, yeah, that it's kind of years. Yeah. I know every fucking nuance of your chiding fucking goddamn voice.
You do.
Fucking sick of it. Randy, you want to take the next one?
Sure, yeah. So this is a question for each of us. What is the most disturbing movie you have ever seen, and what made it so disturbing for you? So this is a really fun question, and we get to really dig into some really cutesy, fun areas, like what the fuck's making us sad at night. Any answers, anybody? For me, I have several answers. There's a lot of movies that have like left an impression on me. Martyrs we just reviewed. That left an impression on me. I think mostly because it was like really effective gore done with a sort of an artistic purpose, seemingly, and sort of any French extremism that I've seen inside. Fucking
high tension,
yeah. Switchblade romance. Fucking and moving beyond that, like a lot of foreign films actually in this category for me. Obviously, a Serbian film was pretty disturbing, even though I kind of I was kind of ready for the rug pull on that one. And then Funny Games. The first time I saw that really kind of fucked me up. But really, the worst for me. Let's start with this. One of the worst for me was Hills Have Eyes, because it was the first rape scene I'd ever seen. And that was the remake. That fucked me up.
Dude,
I was gonna bring that up, but yeah, I remember. I've never finished that movie. Justin, I remember you and I went to the theater to watch
out
it.
after that scene.
Yeah, we got to the rape scene and we're like, "You want to leave?" And I'm like, yeah, let's roll out.
I was gonna so I wanted to say I picked two movies like for their overall movie as like it really like bothers me, and I don't ever want to watch them again. I hate that those like images are in my head. But of the scene that has just always like stuck in my mind, it's that one from the Hills Have Eyes remake. And I'm gonna do a little spoiler for you, but what is happening is a father is being burned alive, like on a cross or something, being burned alive while his
Joshua tree, probably,
while his family is trying to save him. Meanwhile, in their trailer, his two daughters, one is being raped by a mutant man, and while her sister watches and has a gun pointed at her baby, while another mutant man, I think, suckles on her breast. So, and I was just like, nope, Nah, and while like the man also like the doors open, the man's like screaming, being brutalized like their father. It's just like the idea of like the sister watched her sister get raped while her father's burned alive. Well, it's just like it's terrible. It's like one of the worst constructed scenes I've like ever seen, and I hate that it's in my mind. And me and Rob legit were like, we're peacing out. Like, there's no need to finish this movie.
Yeah.
I did finish that movie, but one that I didn't, and this is pretty rare for me to not finish a movie, is Henry: Portrait of a Serial Killer. I had to turn that one off, not because it was like
I haven't seen it.
Like not just because it was disturbing, but also because I was like, this feels pointless. Like this,
Yeah.
feels like a worthless exercise in watching footage. So
I was watching that with you too, and Becky was there, I think.
yeah, I think we all quit at the same time.
Yeah, we were just like, this is terrible, man.
I wanted it to be like intrigued by it or something, and I just wasn't intrigued even on that base level. I couldn't even get the interest up. So there's that. I couldn't get the boner up certainly. And like next would be Requiem for a Dream for me, and that one in particular was effective for me because I watched it with my mom. I think I've brought that up on the podcast. My mom sat down and started watching it, and despite my protests, sat and watched the whole fucking thing with me as I sat there unsure what to do while watching people, get ass to ass and fucking arms chopped off and drug addictions and shit, like all sorts of shit. Spoiler alert. But and then finally, my last one was We Need to Talk About Kevin. Have you guys heard about this movie?
I'm aware of it.
Didn't we cover it?
No, we didn't.
I've never seen it.
Oh.
No, We Need to Talk About Kevin is a movie. It's a pretty recent movie with whatever the fuck Kylo Ren's name is, the actor.
Oh, okay. Now I'm thinking of a different movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a trouble with every actor name, I think.
That dude's name is.
What is that dude's name? John C. Reilly's in it, and
Adam.
Adam Driver.
Adam Driver. Yeah.
What's that fucking woman's name? Tilda Swinton. Tilda Swinton plays Adam Driver's mom as he grows up. It's sort of like progresses from when he's a kid to when he becomes a teenager. I believe Adam Driver's in it. I may be misremembering it, actually. I'm going to double check. But that is a movie that is kind of steeped in current horrors. It's very much like it instills a very specific fear in you. And I'll just say it's about like kids who are disassociating in a way to where they become murderous, basically, like murderous teenagers. So that one really bothered me just because it's kind of timely in today's society. So that one might be the top of my list. Once I really break it all down, it stuck with me, and it's something I think about every time we hear about something horrible in the news like that.
Yeah.
I was wrong. It's not Adam Driver.
Okay.
It's Ezra Miller.
Okay. They have a similar look.
It's the dark hair that threw me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mine would be obviously a Serbian film. And one of the things I hate most about that somebody made us watch a Serbian film, Mikey made us watch a Serbian film, is that it occupies so much space, in what's the worst film you've seen? Well, it's obviously like a Serbian film. But I hate it's like such a cop out. Like it occupies so many realms that it's like, God damn, I hate that it gets so much attention. It's a fucking Serbian film. I don't know, but fuck that movie. And the other one I had was Human Centipede 2, which I think me and Bob watched together.
We turned it off.
Terrible. Did we?
I never finished it.
I finished it.
Really? I didn't finish it.
Maybe. I don't know. Human Centipede 2. Human Centipede 2 is also just a terrible, terrible movie. But I mean, good. That's the dude who makes those movies who literally just wants to shock you. But in Human Centipede 2, he really kind of pulls it off. The way he makes, it's not just the things he does, it's the way he made the movie. It's black and white and it feels so dirty and gritty. It feels like just from the first scene, the dude that they get to play in that movie. They found the nastiest dude they could. I don't know where they found that dude or how he agreed to be an actor.
The gutter.
That is one of the nastiest fucking dudes.
He's an Urukai. He found him under a tree root.
And the thing that they make the things that they make him do are so disgusting and the gritty. Oh, it's that is
I
such
remember him jerking off with
sandpaper, but he's always like moist and like sweaty, and like
Always.
the way the film is shot, it's not just black and white. It's got this certain like kind of filter on that makes everything like kind of real crisp. I don't know if it's gross, dude. It's a gross.
Yo, dog, why are you so moist?
Dude, he is, dude. He's
motherfucker.
like the sweatiest dude. Oh, he's fucking gross. The grossest dude I've seen.
Might
So
need a-
Human Centipede 2 is up there.
We might need to zoom a little tighter here.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I was just going to mention a Serbian film in the Hills Have Eyes remake, which we've already talked about, so we can move on.
I took up a lot of time.
Next question, Juice. Take it away, number 4.
Number 4, question for each of you. What is that one movie you absolutely recommend everyone see and why? So here's where Michael made a mistake. He did not mention horror movie. What is the one horror movie you recommend? So I did not pick a horror movie because he didn't specify. So
you picked You Got Served, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. That is the one movie I recommend everyone. But
no,
so yeah, everyone go around. What's a one movie you recommend everyone see? And he specifies everyone too. So I've got a
I don't pick one movie ever.
Yeah, I did pick a horror movie, even though he didn't specify because it's a horror movie podcast. I just kind of thought that's what he was asking. So one movie that I recommend that is most likely going to be palatable to anyone who enjoys horror movies is Shaun of the Dead. That movie's incredibly hilarious, endearing. There's like solid zombies, solid gore. It's like a love story. It's got everything going for it. It's so tightly written. I fucking love that movie. I can watch it over and over again, man. Shaun of the Dead.
Randy?
So like I said, I don't pick one movie. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it. And I certainly can't. And if you give me the option to pick a category, I'm going to do it. So I have a horror category of lists of movies and then a non-horror category. My horror category includes these 3 films. We have Psycho, we have Evil Dead, and we have The Shining. I think those are all like bench points for horror. And then for non-horror, I have 3 movies. They are Schindler's List because of its fucking importance.
Sure.
12 Angry Men because of its fucking importance. And then Brazil, which I actually don't know if you guys have seen, but is one of my favorite fucking movies. And I think is one of the most fucking artistically valuable movies in terms of like visuals. It's just so rich and interesting. And I don't know. I think that movie is fucking top tier.
Ooh,
so
you've intrigued me. I've never seen, or I'm not even aware of that movie. So
watch Brazil. Don't know anything about it. Just go watch it. And I hope I'm not overhyping it because I have a tendency to do that with movies I love. But for me, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I think that it's, if you have any sort of artistic bone in your body, you will find something that you really like about it.
Good. I'll check it out. Cool. Mine, I couldn't choose 2 movies either, and I had this like spectrum too, kind of like Randy a little bit, but I have this thing, so it's like recommend for everyone. And here's the thing, I live in Korea now, and so I actually get this question a lot because people want to watch like American movies and stuff like that to practice their English, or just stuff like that. So it kind of gives me this new realm too. And when I think of it too, I think about like everyone. So when we recommend like horror movies, you're like, well, this person. So I didn't pick a horror movie because, that's kind of a niche kind of thing. But my kind of philosophy is like this 2 spectrum is like, if you're going to recommend a movie for everyone, I think like the purest movies, I still personally like love cartoons and animation. And I'd have to go with like WALL-E or Toy Story. They're like the most purest forms of like love and friendship. And like, they're just like so... I don't know.
You obviously haven't seen the satanic undercurrent going through Toy Story.
I don't know. Those movies are just so great. But on the other side of the spectrum, kind of like Randy said, like I would say the Schindler's List or like The Pianist, because I think like the Holocaust is like the purest form of evil that you can like specifically reference.
I heard a study that 1/3 of Americans don't believe in the Holocaust anymore.
It's terrible. Sorry,
everyone.
And that's why. So I have like this 2 spectrum, like, oh, Toy Story and WALL-E, they're like, so pure and everything. But like people need to know like what pure evil looks like. And like movies being able to empathize like with the character like Pianist and Schindler's List and stuff like that. Those are like such important movies. So kind of 2 sides of the spectrum on that one. But those were my choices.
Nice.
I agree with those choices.
Next question. Number 5. So this is a question for each one of us. What is the worst movie you have ever seen and regret losing that time you spent watching it?
Ugh.
So, what you got? What you got, Randy?
I have a few because I never pick one. I have some horror and some non-horror. I'm going to start with horror. Underworld 6 or whatever that one that we watched for the podcast. The only Underworld I've seen.
Blood
farts, and I can't explain how much I was so ready and primed to hate that movie, but it couldn't have fucking compared with the absolute culmination of that feeling. I was absolutely vindicated in every preconceived notion I had towards that film. I hated that shit. Yeah, I was Dashboard Confessional in that shit. And then fucking The Mummy 2017. I just went through our list for the horror because there are several that are clunkers, but the Mummy, my God. What were they thinking? Like, there's nothing redeemable there.
Blumhouse is going to save it. That's kind of a tangent.
Blumhouse is going to save the Universal Monsters world, but not the fucking Mummy 2017. That ship has sailed and sunk and been shattered.
Blumhouse couldn't save Glass, Rob.
That's true.
Shyamalan couldn't save Glass.
Bob.
Blumhouse isn't here. Blumhouse isn't here to save. It's here to provide platform for elevator pitch. Non-horror. The worst movies I've seen. One movie I mentioned that I don't walk out of movies very much or don't turn off movies very much. Epic movie. Walked out of that shit.
I was there with you.
Yeah, I remember. We walked out together.
Y'all didn't finish. I was there for some reason.
Yeah, you're always there.
Maybe you're the problem.
Yo, dog, you want to leave? Yeah.
Hey man, let's go watch Epic movie. And then halfway through, you want to leave? Yeah, oh, okay. That's Rob. That's my impression of Rob. And then I would say Twilight 1. The only thing that made that movie palatable. That's the only Twilight I've seen, I should say. Whatever. But Twilight is the only time I watched it was with Riff Tracks, and it was. I mean, even with Riff Tracks, that shit is tough to stomach. It is.
Wow.
It is made for like 12-year-old girls.
No, it's not for me, and I'm like, power to you. I don't hold it against you if you like these movies. If you hate Schindler's List, then fuck you. But other than that, like, I mean, Twilight, not for me, and it showed with every frame of that fucking movie. Did not care for it. Rip Track saved it a little bit, though. I'll give him that credit.
All right, Juice. What about you?
The Visitor, dude. That movie, Drew picked this movie like early in our cast days, and I have this distinct memory of it. Like, he picked it off some Bobo-ass streaming platform or something. And I remember to this day, like, every movie he scrolled through, I was like, what is that? What? I've never heard of any of these movies. He was like scrolling through like every movie that was on. Do you remember what that was?
I really don't, man.
Do you remember? I'd like, for some reason, I just have this like perfect memory of that night and like being like, what is this streaming service? And like, Drew didn't even know at the time. He wasn't even like, oh, I want to watch The Visitor. He was like scrolling through this Bobo ass streaming service of none of these movies I had ever even heard of and landed on The Visitor. And as I was watching this movie, I was like, this is the most like nothing I have ever felt in my life. Like, it's, dude, I can't even, that movie was, it's the biggest waste of my time I can think. And for some reason I had this distinct memory of it, and that's why it just like sticks out so much in my mind. But The Visitor, like, I was just like, where did this come from? What is this? Like, why am I watching it? Like, it was terrible. Fucking The Visitor,
nuts.
man.
I
honestly saying earlier, like, smoke weed and watch. Like, I don't even know how you would find it. I don't know how we found it. It's like an enigma.
Since we have reviewed it, Arrow put it out on Blu-ray. It's only Region B, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, you can buy it on Blu-ray.
Not a bummer.
Dude, I totally watched that movie again. Like,
I would watch it again. I think I was pretty drunk. I was drunk when I watched that movie. So
it's a good one to like. Watch with friends and just have your minds collectively blown. It's like every scene is like crazier than the last. It just it's nuts. It's fucking nuts. My answer for this, I fucking hate this movie. Knock Knock. It's
Rob, I love to hear Rob bitch about Knock Knock.
I'm so surprised you didn't say Creep.
Rob,
I hate
talk
Knock
about
Knock
the pizza.
more than Creep.
Tell us about the pizza. Was it free pizza, Rep?
It was free
Free?
pizza. Dude, okay, here's the thing. Keanu Reeves, maybe he's not the best actor ever, but I like him. I like a lot of the movies that he's in.
He's supposed to be a fucking phenomenal human being.
He seems like a cool guy, somebody that you could hang out with or whatever. He's like not very pretentious, even though he's super rich and famous and whatnot. He seems very down to earth, very grounded. It takes a special director, a man like Eli Roth, to completely ruin Keanu Reeves. This movie is dog shit. Don't watch it. Like, maybe just don't.
I'm gonna watch it.
Fuck curiosity. Don't watch Knock Knock.
I'm gonna watch it.
It's a wet fart in the pants of America, to quote Randy Gandy G. Landy.
That is not reserved for this film. That is reserved for Underworld Part 6 or whatever.
It's terrible. Randy, you want to take number 6?
Number 6. This is a question directly for me. It is, how did you get into movies? So here's the story of how I got into movies. I was born on 3 Mile Island, and I was birthed by Jason Blum's test tubes. And I was created in order to produce buzz marketing for his films via podcasting. So that's how I wound up where I am today. I have no actual emotions or thoughts. I am just here to tell you to, watch Us by Jordan Peele and drink Pepsi. I'm here for you. I'm here to be your walking fucking... No, none of that shit. I'm a human being in America in modern day, so I was raised by a television, and in part at least, and I like stories, and that's how we get stories in modern day. There's not much more to it than that. I think if you're asking like what are some of the first movies I ever saw, the usual. It was Disney. It was fucking Aladdin. It was Lion King. It was Bedknobs and Broomsticks. It was, if you want to talk early horror, I can talk about fucking Return to Oz all day long. I could do that,
Right,
but I'm gonna skip it for now. I mean, movies are great. Movies are great and also terrible and mostly terrible. But there you go.
All right.
Cool. Juice, number 7.
Question for Rob specific. Favorite Halloween franchise movie and why?
So my favorite's the original. That's too obvious, though. I'm not going to pick it. Everybody, I assume most.
All right. What's your second favorite? Why?
My second favorite is Halloween 2 because it's.
Thank God. Thank God.
Halloween 2.
We didn't get into this again.
Yeah, no. Just to briefly explain it, I don't know. It's like a very solid sequel. I love that it takes place on the same night. You got Jamie Lee Curtis in the movie again, even though she's like basically bedridden for half the movie. But it's got like great atmosphere. It takes place in a hospital on Halloween night that apparently 3 people work at, and they have like no electricity. I don't know. It's
and
just
no
like
emergencies to handle.
Yeah, no shit. It's a very spooky
It's a
setting.
small town.
Carpenter is like very involved in it. The music is fantastic. There's great kills. It's just like it's a very solid sequel to one of the greatest slasher movies ever made. The only sort of like weird thing that happens is like you find out that, oh no, Michael and Jamie are brother and sister, which whatever. It's kind of whatever. But as far as like the Halloween franchise is concerned, that's probably my second favorite. For sure, it's a great watch.
All right. Well, thank God.
I disagree with you.
Well, nobody cares, Randy. The question wasn't for you. So, Rob, next question.
Okay,
Rob.
That's fair.
Number 8, question for each one of us. Which disturbs you more when watching a horror film? Adult, child, or animal gore? And provide examples.
Okay,
Randy?
Hold on. Let's all at one time give our answer. Let's on 3 say what our answer out of those 3 answers
I'm gonna deviate. I know what you're going for.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Child.
Child. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Child.
You guys did not listen to the rules of the game.
I'm in Korea. Okay. I've got a delay.
There is a delay. Yeah, there is a delay.
I refuse to believe that.
So, child, the only example that I could immediately think of, which even if this was an adult, this should happen too, it'd still be fucking horrifying, is the decapitation scene in Hereditary, where the little girl gets her head knocked off.
That's a good example.
Think of Serbian film?
Fucked up.
Yeah.
I often try not to think of
Okay. That was the thing I was saying. I thought Serbian film was just going to be like the blanket, like, oh, because that's obviously terrible. But I picked another one, which I think holds a lot of value. The Exorcist.
Yeah, The Exorcist.
Oh,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, a little girl is possessed, and the old fucking crucifixing. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Literally.
Well, yeah, I mean, so pretty much that whole movie as far as like what happens, but I mean, I feel like The Exorcist is the perfect example of like that's something that's just hard to stomach. Rob is.
Sorry, a friend sent me a text message. It's very funny.
So fun for everyone listening. Oh,
sorry.
So yeah, child for sure. The Exorcist.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say animals or something instead of child.
Oh no, I didn't realize that. I thought everybody was gonna say blanket a Serbian film because.
Okay. No, I was just saying out of those three answers.
Well, what was your example, Randy?
I had a few. Martyrs. It's on the brain because we just watched it this week. Martyrs. There's children being fucking abused in that. They're not sexually abused, which I was grateful for. That movie had enough horror in it. But yeah, there's that. There's Pet Sematary, where you have a very like the whole movie is driven by the death of a child, and that child's death is probably the most effective part of that movie to me, or the least laugh worthy. You know what I mean? That's something worth noting. I think. Jaws. There's is there a more sad scene in a 70s horror film than fucking the mom looking for her son who is sitting on the beach sunbathing as her son?
That's a bad one.
Shark.
That's a bad one.
That's a rough one. And then It, especially the new It, because it's so brutal, and watching Georgie get swallowed up, like there's like child gore is absolutely more horrifying than adult or animal. Certainly, like animal gore is used in lieu of child gore more often than not in movies, because few people are willing to pull the trigger on having a child mauled or mangled in some way in a film. And adult gore is like it's
in Marvel movies.
It's not even notable. It's literally like off camera. Who gives a shit?
It's expected,
unless it's really deliberate and really focused on. It's not very like cutting for me, and I don't think for most people. But child, like anytime you see a child get hurt, there's like laws in some countries about seeing a child get shot, even like with CGI on camera. Like there's a reason for that. It's because we have an innate fucking biological need to not see that happen. So I mean, it's child for me.
Cool. Randy, you want to take question number 9?
I can do number 9. Questions for each of you. You wake up and find you are suddenly the last person on Earth, circumstances notwithstanding. You are now free to do what you want. What are the top 5 things you would do? Keep in mind, you are all alone and no one loves you. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. So anybody want to start us off on that? 5 things.
Here's my thing, and it's gonna be ridiculous, but you gotta start to eat the food that's gonna spoil. So I'm going for the cream. Like it's not gonna last long.
It's in a freezer. That's not the first thing to go off.
Well, if the power, I don't know how to keep a power grid up. How the fuck am I gonna keep a power grid up all alone?
Gotta find Rob.
It's not gonna last too long, man.
Yeah. See, so I mean, not only cream, but my first thought is like, if I want to enjoy certain foods, like a lot of them are going to spoil, and I'm gonna have to eat them now. So I guess a lot of meats, I would have to be like grilling my dick off and like get some cream. I'd have some steak cream dinners for as long as that power grid.
And everything you're
saying, your shits are gonna be terrible.
Yeah, and everything you're saying, taken out of context, sounds fucking awful. I want you to know that.
Also, you gotta stock up on lube. I mean, if you're the only one left, you gotta stock up on lube. I would find a baller. I would find a baller house near the beach. So find the best house at the beach. Stock up on quality liquor and get a dog. You know, gotta have some companionship.
That's a good one.
Dog. Yeah.
Don't. Hey, Juice.
Yeah.
Don't fuck that dog. Not allowed. Even with no one around. I'll see.
Damn.
Thanks for the PSA, Randy.
Randy's omnipresent.
I'm omnipotent, and I will tell you about yourself if you fuck a dog. I will.
So for this one, I don't know that I have like 5 specific points. I have like a handful of things. A lot of them kind of go hand in hand. So the first thing that I would do is I would find a very dope car, something that was fast and had plenty of storage. I would load that bitch up.
Ooh, the Prius.
The super fast Priuses. I would I'd head out west. I'd drive up the west coast, probably up through Canada into Alaska, and just like make a big circle around the country, man. I'd hit as many places as I could and just take a fucking road trip. After that, I would probably find like a pretty large house on the beach, like Justin said, but I'd specifically try and find something with solar panels on it so that I could have painters. So I could have that electricity. I would raid the liquor cabinet, specifically in town at the Ruth's Chris, because I know they have a lot of liquor that I can't afford. I just get all that shit. I've also been watching the Last Man on Earth, which is it's a comedy show or whatever. Anyway, one of the things that they do in that show, I think it's actually in the very first episode of the show, he makes he takes a mini pool and he fills it with margaritas and just lays in it and drinks it. So I'd probably do something like that. I don't know. That's a handful of things.
That'd be so much tequila.
That's a lot of things.
So much. Yeah.
Man, you are looking to die. So my top 5. Here's what they are. Top 5 things you do if the world ends. You're the last person on Earth. You can do whatever you want. First, I'll clean the blood off my hands. Second, I'll eat some lunch. Third, I'll go to the animal shelter and begin forming an army of battle dogs so that I can battle off the elements in the form of bears and other dogs and whatnot. I'll take a Forever 21 mannequin with a basketball for a head to be my wife. And then I'll road trip with my dog Army to Disney World because it'll be open. It's always open. It's never not open. So there you go.
Ride all the rides, Randy.
I got the 5.
There you go.
That is truly bizarre, but I like it. Juice, number 2?
I actually don't have it copied. I only went to number 9 for some reason. I don't know why. So can you take that one? I'll take the next question.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the last question that was sent to us from Michael from Horror Apocalypse. It's about Horror Apocalypse. Specifically, he says, is there any chance of having a collaboration between Straight Chilling and Horror Apocalypse? To which, yeah, for sure, man. We'll figure something out that works for both you guys and us. Obviously, we cannot do that right now. But yeah, I'm down. Let's
do it right now. No, like we're open to hang out with anybody.
Call his ass up.
Yeah, like fucking. If you're not a Nazi, we'll definitely talk to you on the air. Who gives a shit?
I don't know about definitely. What if they're a pedophile, Randy?
Yeah, I mean, we have
as
more
long as they're not
that.
the Nazi pedophile. No, there's a litmus test, but it's pretty not stringent. So.
Yeah. I mean, we're pretty open to talking to people and doing cool things, collaborating. We're all about collaboration, man. Like the horror community is fucking dope, and we appreciate meeting and greeting folks who dwell in that community.
Don't fraternize with cooters.
Yeah. So we have a few more questions here, actually. So we got 2 questions from Matthew. Let's go ahead and tackle those real quick. Juice, you have those, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So this one's a little tough. What differentiates a supernatural thrill? I am drunk on soju.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a little buzz on here.
A supernatural thriller from a horror film. Please provide examples to explain reasoning. Reading.
So all just to clarify, because I spoke to Matthew in person about this, he definitely does say supernatural thriller. I don't know if he meant like psychological thriller or not, but we could take it both ways or whatever.
I mean, because the only example for supernatural that I could really like, I try to search and come up with was Ghost. Fucking. That's a no. Goddamn. The Sixth Sense was kind of like a thriller where it might not necessarily be like a horror movie. And I guess in my mind, I don't really like these kind of like genre. I voted Jurassic Park was a horror movie, so this is not a good question for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, fuck it, what? It's all good, baby. But
Yep.
This
is usually where the show starts to end, and our drunkenness becomes a little not so apparent once we stop recording.
So The Sixth Sense was the one that came up for Supernatural, since he specified that. And I guess like it's kind of got more like of a positive outcome in the end, I guess, like it's like got more of a drama kind of setting, or like a drama kind of feel, like arc and everything like that, character development, with just like some like horror elements, like, oh, this kid can see ghosts and that's like a scary thing. But like the overall like development of him and how his life ends up, and it's usually kind of in a more positive light, I guess. But that's really all I got. I don't know.
Yeah, I pretty much treated this as if he was asking about
just thriller.
Psychological thrillers. Yeah. So like, yeah, I don't really like playing the like horror movie gatekeeper. Like, if it's something you think is a horror movie, then it's a horror movie. Like, I don't know. I don't really like having to draw those lines in the sand too much. But it is, like, in my opinion, if it's something that somebody watches and they say, oh, that's a psychological thriller, more often than not, I would just lump it in the horror category. Like the most obvious one that comes to my mind is Silence of the Lambs. Like, and I think the reason that, like, somebody who might try to draw that line very clearly in the sand for themselves is somebody who does not want to be associated with horror movies because I think it's like a lowbrow genre, and somebody who does that would come off to me as being somewhat pretentious, and I don't really understand the point of that.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, is like really the only reason in like really drawing that line firmly and standing by it, and like, no, that's 100% not a horror movie. It's definitely a psychological thriller, because you have some sort of like hierarchy of genres in your head.
You got a hierarchy in your brain.
Hierarchy. But yeah, I don't know. That it's all kind of the same to me, I guess.
I mean, okay. I actually very much appreciate your stance on that, Bob, and it kind of encapsulates what I was struggling to say. Is that, yeah, the genre definition is pretty arbitrary. If it makes you feel horrified, count it as a horror. And if the world doesn't conform to that, that's not a problem. That's just the natural state of being an individual. So, I mean, in that regard, I'll say, yeah, it doesn't really have a strong difference. But in an effort to answer the question, I do have some sort of what I consider to be differentiating marks between the things. And these are things that have numerous caveats and exceptions. So none of this is set in stone for me, even though I'm the one bringing them forward. So they're very similar. And I also sort of set aside the supernatural thriller thing. I hope that's not like part and parcel to what he's trying to get at, because to me, it's like, well, that's such a narrow category versus one of the broader categories you can have, that it's not even really, like, it's not apples and oranges, it's apples and fruit. Like how do you compare the things? So they are very similar, these things, and I would say that thrillers are generally more grounded in some form of reality. Supernatural stuff can exist, but it works extra hard to sell those things to you because you're a skeptical audience, or it has a more skeptical audience in general. Shaun of the Dead, nobody questions, how zombies came to be. They just experience the ride. That's part of horror a lot of the times, in my experience, is just sort of accepting whatever horrific experience is going to happen because somebody just designed a world that's that way. You can do anything when you're writing. So, but with a thriller, it's more like, okay, they want you to see yourself in at least some aspect of this story. So they have to ground it a little closer to reality to make you feel that. It's more focused on a psychology of a character, or at least a common fear, or a sort of a hive mind sort of fear that exists. It centers around themes of paranoia and confusion. There's a lower gore level in general than the majority of horror fare. Of course, it's such a broad category again that it's kind of tough to say that, but in general, you won't see a lot of thrillers with extreme gore. And I can't think of too many examples where that's not true. It's rarely gratuitous. Most are always likely to be reflective of a problem or specific quandary in the real world. So like whether or not there's a self is I would count Blade Runner as a thriller, and there's a question of what is self. Does a Turing, like it's Ex Machina again, like does the Turing test make you your own individual, or does it just make you a very sophisticated robot? Those are like sort of, or even like things like fear of the other. Those are things explored by horror, certainly. Like Get Out definitely explores some deeper themes, but thrillers sort of use those as the jumping off point almost always, whereas horror doesn't have to conform to that. And again, like there's so many exceptions and caveats that it's almost a useless exercise, I think, to really make those lines. So that's really all I got.
Yeah, enjoy what you enjoy, call it what you want. Just don't be pretentious about it, I guess.
Have a reason.
Yeah. Juice, this one's for you, my friend.
Yes.
Also from Matthew. So what are your favorite monster yabos, creature yabos?
I like this question. I like this question a lot because there is I did 2 picks.
Okay.
Because there's one as far as like memorable. So ones that always stick out in my mind as far as like yabos from a creature in a movie is Brain Dead or Dead Alive. Do you know what I'm talking about, Rob?
Yeah, you're talking about the mom at the end?
The mom, yeah. So the mom, that movie's so gross in the way it does its special effects. Like, and the mom essentially like deteriorates like throughout the movie. And so she's just an older woman in general. So at the very end of the movie, the mom becomes this huge, like gigantic, melty monster or whatever. And then she's just got her tits swinging. Like, I always thought that was a hilarious, like, addition. Like, the whole time, like, her tits are just swinging. She's just this old, melty lady, huge ass monster. And I always thought that was fucking hilarious.
That's a good pick.
That's the one that always sticks out in my mind. Now, if he was trying to talk about like, oh, what are some good yabos or whatever, like for creatures, the only thing I could think of was like, oh, what might be like some good yabos for like creatures is only thing that popped in my mind was like 13 Ghosts, like that you got the one like where they like legit like picked like a porn star to play like a naked ghost or whatever. So I was like, well, I mean, I guess that sticks out in my mind as far as like what kind of quality creature yabos, I guess. I'm sure they're fake tits, but either way, like, so Ghost, I guess, technically qualifies as creature. So, I mean, if you're going for quality, I guess 13 Ghosts, yabos, but memorable is the mom tits at the end of Dead Alive or Brain Dead, whichever you want to call it.
Depends on where you're from, yeah.
Good answer.
Solid.
Thank you.
We got
I take my yabos seriously, guys.
We know. The only one. We got a handful of questions in from Mikey as well. First one he sent in here is, what horror movie could you watch over and over again without ever getting tired of? This is hard to pick just one movie. I had a slew of them. Shaun of the Dead, Sleepaway Camp, Halloween, Reanimator, Return of the Living Dead. Those are the ones
we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
I had a lot. Like I said, Shaun of the Dead's a good one that I'll add to my list. I didn't have it, but you're absolutely correct. That's a good one. Shaun of the Dead, The Witch, man. I think it has like become like my favorite fucking horror movie. That movie, every time I watch it, I just like I'm blown away. Halloween, I watch it every Halloween, and I always want to watch it on Halloween. So I mean, I don't want to watch it like right now. It's like January, but I would be fine if like it were on. I wouldn't bitch, but. And Scream, it's the same kind of thing. Like I feel like I could watch like Scream like a million goddamn. I feel like I have watched Scream a million goddamn times.
I should have had Scream on my list too.
Yeah. So those are the big ones. I mean, there's probably more. Like I really like The Fly and like The Thing, but I mean, those are the ones that I know I have seen like countless times now, and I still like am ready when Halloween comes around. You better believe fucking Halloween's coming on and Scream's coming on. So.
Yeah. Randy?
There's a lot of crossover. Sleepaway Camp, Shaun of the Dead, on my list. I would add a few that you mentioned. The Witch is a great addition, actually. Rob, you said, Return of the Living Dead was one that really resonated with me that you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
Things that you guys didn't mention, I would say Little Shop of Horrors. For me, that's like gold standard. I have so much love for that fucking film that I don't know. I could gush for hours, and I have on an episode. So, there's that. There's Cabin in the Woods, which I think is like, to me, like, I didn't conclude Scream, but I would consider that in the same realm of Scream, where it's almost like a comment on the horror genre in general.
Yeah.
Not almost, it is, and I think that it does it in such a way that's so satisfying, and it's such a like an embarrassment of riches in terms of things to look at. Like, without spoiling a whole lot for those who haven't seen it, like, there's some moments in that film where there's like, you don't even know where to look because there's so many interesting things happening on camera. There's The Shining. I've seen that movie probably more than just about any movie I've seen as an adult. That's not including films I watched like on repeat on VHS when I was a kid. And then Jaws. I think Jaws is, I don't know. I just think it is beyond reproach. There's nothing about it that
it's amazing.
Would make me turn off. Yeah. Like it's, I don't need to say anything about Jaws. You guys know about Jaws, so Jaws is on my list for sure.
Yeah, good pick.
I watched it this weekend just because scrolling through channels and it was on, and I was like, oh, this is what I'm watching now.
See, and that's the thing. Like in relation to Juice, what you said about Halloween, I consider that same thing about Halloween and Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is my favorite horror for the Christmas time season. Those are specific to the season, and I will watch them every fucking year. I certainly will, but it's almost like they self-constrain because of that. Like these other movies I can watch anytime, and most of these movies I watch more than once a year. I would say
even like Jaws, I would be like, again, I would watch it right now and I would be fine with it. But I really like, my body wants to watch it when it's summertime. And that's the thing, like that. I could watch Halloween right now and it would be fine and I would enjoy it.
That is the optimal time for sure.
But my body would be like, God damn, why is it January and not October?
Yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors, I can watch anytime. Shaun of the Dead, I can watch anytime. Sleepaway Camp, I can watch anytime. Although the optimal time for Sleepaway Camp is when somebody is around who hasn't seen it. So that's the reality.
Yeah. All right. Randy, you want to take the next one? Number 2?
Sure. Mikey's second question is, if there is one movie you could review again, which one would it be? Does anybody want to start?
So mine already won with The Descent, but I have a couple more if we did another like next year or something, January, What Do You Regret or redo. Ex Machina, I think, would be a great one to do again because that cast got out of hand. That is an OG cast that got ridiculous.
Yeah, go listen to that podcast if you want to hear us at our fucking worst and best at the same time.
That was wild. And also The Fly, mainly just because I love that fucking movie and I just want to talk about it again. So we did that like early on too. Ex Machina, The Fly, and they're both quality films that would be great to cover again. So those are my 2 picks.
Bobby, what about you?
Now that you mentioned that, I really want to talk about Ex Machina again. That's not what I had though. So we just did like a January poll pick where we each picked a movie that we would like to review again. And Justin, like you said, won with The Descent. I would actually like to talk about Scream again. I feel like we did Scream kind of a disservice. We did it like way back before we revamped the show, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, horror or otherwise. It's just one of my favorite movies. I'd like to talk about it again. So Scream. Yeah.
There you go. By the way, I want to mention that The Descent, I looked back and to see what the difference was between the average score and the original run and the original review and then the new review, and it's a 0.5 difference, but there's a difference between 3.5 and 4, which I think is pretty significant. Like as an average consensus. So I think we did that movie a little bit better the second time around. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
For me, I want to review Underworld again. Blood Wars is what it's called.
Are you serious?
I do. I want to review it again, and I'll tell you why. Because I was going through the fucking list to do my segment today, and I gave that movie a 1.5. That is far too generous for this fucking movie.
I'm actually pretty surprised by that.
I was surprised by that, and like I don't know if it's a victory of hindsight or what, but I feel like that is a disservice to humanity. That movie deserves to be shat on, and I shat on it audibly, but I did not give it the score it deserved, which is 0 or 5.5, whatever. I don't think we can give it a 0.
To be honest.
I remember really enjoying your point of view on that movie, Randy. For some reason, I remember you specifically saying, this is just a blue movie. And I thought that was hilarious and very accurate. Everything's like blue washed.
It's blue washed.
I'm a guy who enjoys the Underworld like franchise. Like it's like kind of a baseline. There's nothing I can like picture in my mind from that movie. There's nothing. I can't pull anything out.
That is the only Underworld movie I've seen, so it is what I pull from when I think of Underworld. Is it? I don't know that it's. I mean, I have
the
no
only
confidence.
one.
We gotta finish these questions.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Justin,
so yeah, that's
number
3.
All right, number 3. Suspiria 2018 gets mentioned a lot ever since its theatrical release. Yes, that is appropriate. Would you all consider reviewing the Argento original in 2018 in a future comparison episode after Bob reviews the Blu-ray release for both? I think like the only thing about that, I would personally be down. The only thing about that is we just covered both of those movies within the last year. Now, I would love to get in on the Suspiria 2018 discussion because I missed out on the cast for that one. And I think it would probably be, of anything, a good consideration for a future poll pick. So, we choose like a movie and a remake to compare and contrast for the future. So I think that's a really good idea for a future poll pick. Unfortunately, like we just did both those movies so recently, but I of course would love to get on the Suspiria 2018 discussion, which I missed out on. But I love that movie. If you didn't hear our top 10 from 2018, and especially like once a Blu-ray drops or whatever, and getting a hold of that and seeing it in some really good quality, I would be down. But I feel like we just kind of did it, so I wouldn't rush to do it, I guess.
Yeah. When I first read this question, my initial reaction was like, no, probably not. Specifically because when we did the 2018 review, we kind of compared them because you have to really when you're talking about like
you really do.
Yeah, we didn't like go like full on into it, but we definitely compared them. However, Justin, you didn't get a chance to. So. Mentioning that, Randy just took a swig at it straight from the bourbon bottle.
Straight from the bourbon bottle.
Anyway.
See it on YouTube.
Yeah. Anyway, I would be down. I really like the idea that you brought up of doing a poll pick where it's like where we review a movie and its remake. That's a really good idea. I like that. As far as me talking about the Blu-ray releases, I think Mikey brought that up specifically because I've got Suspiria, the original Suspiria, on Blu-ray, and it's loaded down, man. It's probably the most like impressive single Blu-ray release that I own. Really? So talking about that, and then talking about the remake whenever, actually I think that comes out this Tuesday, so it's about to come out. I would be more than happy to do that, and then maybe sometime in the near future we could do a proper episode where we compare the two. I don't know, Randy, what about you?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the idea of comparing a remake with its original is a great episode idea, so thanks for that. Like, not just necessarily for Suspiria, but for anything, really. So I'd be open to that. In terms of Suspiria, I agree with Justin that it's too recent, and I'd probably let it sit for like a year, maybe. But I'm open to it, and I think the comparison naturally happens when you review a remake of an original. So you kind of get that, but when you sort of make it your point, I think that can yield some interesting results. So especially with a movie that has as much going on as both Suspirias do. Yeah. So I think that, and especially because like in a recent episode, I sort of like compared Suspiria, the original, favorably to the remake, whereas I gave them a review that doesn't reflect that. And I've been like kind of pondering both because of that. like you kind of touched a nerve for me because it's something that's been on my mind because of those things. I think it's worth revisiting. And if not, then like it's certainly a good fucking episode idea. So if there's a franchise that has had remakes that you guys want us to review as a comparison, then let us know. Maybe we can work it in sometime. Not right away, but at some point.
Yeah, that's a really solid idea. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Number 4 from Mikey. Do you prefer physical or digital media? If you say digital, please kill yourself.
Well, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing for me. Dude, I grew up and like I was the big thing on like I'm a big music guy and like CDs, and I love to buy CDs because I love to have those damn booklets, and like so the visual aesthetic to go along with of like a musical project was like really important to me. But like even nowadays, like there aren't a whole lot of movies that I just want to see over and over and over again. Not even like horror included. Like I love to watch movies. I love to go to the movie theater. I love to talk about movies. I love to watch them. But there's just very few movies that I want to watch multiple times. And I don't prefer it's even weird to me to think about buying like a digital copy of something. Like even that concept to me honestly is kind of personally strange. I stream everything, especially now. It's harder too because like I moved to Korea, so I had to like pack shit into a bag, and like I have to store it now in a smaller space and think about like taking it home eventually. But so I don't have like any DVDs with me here or Blu-ray or anything, but like even just the concepts now, I'm just like it's all streaming. Like even if I'm gonna watch something, I'm gonna rent it for like $2 and stream it and be done with it, because chances are I'm not gonna want to watch it again, and if I did, I'll spend another $2 like that. It's so rare for me to want to watch something so many times that I feel I need like a Blu-ray for it. So I'm nothing. Neither of those choices,
I'm nothing. I'm nothing.
I think that falls under digital, streaming digital. I think.
Sure,
yeah. Yeah, it qualifies. Randy.
I mean, that resonates with me. I think for me, I prefer to own a physical copy of things. Here's the thing. I have a problem with collecting. I was a Pokemon child. I wanted to and I wanted everything. I wanted, like, if I get the first Criterion Collection DVD or Blu-ray, I'm gonna want them all, and I don't have the money, the physical like space for it, or the like reasonable excuse for buying such things. I had to wean myself off of collecting those things. It is more than once I have had to purge stacks. Rob, stacks of DVDs from my collection, most of which have gotten 1 to 3 uses maximum. So like for like Justin's thing rings true, like what he said, like having something for rent is more valuable to me in most cases. Now, on the occasion where there is a film that I will watch over and over again, or a film that I find like I just have to have it, I'll allow myself, but I have to be very careful because my completionist stance is my bent is so
it's that Zelda in you.
It is.
You gotta collect them.
100%. I want to get fucking Game Plus. I want to have it all, and that's not possible in a world of actual media, because actual media never stops being made and it never stops existing for the most part. So, I mean, for me, I'll put it this way: when we started doing this sort of traveling thing that we started doing, I got rid of 9/10 of my DVD and film collection, and what I didn't get rid of, I put in a giant binder of CD, DVD, like a binder like that. I got rid of cases, and that's about as much as I'm willing to do. Other than that, I have about 5 DVDs that actually still have their cases, and there are 5 movies that I hold in such esteem that they got through all of the cuts, and they are my 5 DVDs. You know what I'm saying?
Do you know what they are offhand?
House, there's Brazil.
Hasu. You mean Hasu?
Hasu, yes, Hasu.
Nice choice, Randy.
Brazil, no, not Unbreakable. I think I did finally give up on Unbreakable. There's a few DVDs that are DVDs that I can't get other ways, like Everything is Terrible DVDs, like the things that are only made in that way, or else piecemeal on the internet. Let's see. Other than
Blood Rage.
Blood Rage, yeah, that's one. Blood Rage.
Because Made in Jax.
Made in Jax, so it's like important to me, and I went to the reveal party or whatever for that, so it's important to me in a way. And then Over the Garden Wall, which is one of my favorite pieces of animation I've ever seen in my life. So like those are like four of like the, like I said five, but that was an estimate. It's probably more like it's 5 to 7 maybe, and I can't think of them all. But yeah, I can't start collecting things or I won't stop. So the physical media that I do own is stuff that I treasure, and the stuff that I don't own is stuff that I'm trying out, or stuff that I respect and like. I just can't. I'm a person. I'm not a receptacle for goods. Like I don't want to be that.
Yeah. Bob, you don't like physical media, do you?
No.
I'm very much like Randy. Randy has that collector's mentality. I also have it. I always have had it. I've always been collecting something, for better, for worse, usually for worse. I buy physical media. I'm way into it. I probably should be less into it.
I would say that I visit home about every 6 months, so big gaps, but still small enough to where you're like up on everything. Every time I like visit home, I'm always like blown away at like Rob's. I'm always like, oh my God. And then of course, every 6 months it like grows, obviously, because he's like buying 2-3 movies a week or 10. I'm just like, oh my God.
Rob has an amazing collection, but here's the thing: like I used to have way more than he has right now, but he has actually like taste and a sense of quality, which I did not bother myself with at all. So like, yeah, I understand, man. I definitely get it. You want to own it. You want to have it.
It's
crazy. That you can watch it forever.
It is a crazy thing that I understand I should probably not do, but I do. That's just, I don't know. That shit's in me for one reason or another. I don't know why, but it's in me. Yeah, I like it. We've got 3 more questions. Let's like lightning round these, man.
Let's do it. Good idea.
Okay, so number 5 from Mikey: Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or Child's Play. If you could choose an entire collection to review as a whole, which one would you choose?
I would choose Halloween. I understand that series best, or I don't know if I understand it best. That's up to interpretation, but I have seen every movie within that collection, and I've seen them all multiple times. I'm prepared to have a serious conversation about fucking Cult of Thorn. So let's do it.
Me too. That's my answer as well. Halloween. If I had to say like which one I enjoy the most from beginning to end in the entirety of the franchise, I'd go Friday the 13th. But as far as like having a conversation, Halloween all the way.
Yeah.
There's not any of these franchises that I've seen every single movie in. I don't even know which one I've seen the most. I feel like it's pretty close between Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Nightmare on Elm Street, like pieced together. I would go Nightmare on Elm Street just because I think it would be the most fun, like the most wacky, as far as like reviews go. So I would pick Friday the 13th. I mean, no. I would pick Nightmare on Elm Street.
Gotcha.
Cool. Number 6, any of you into horror-related anime? For example, Vampire Hunter D, Tokyo Ghoul, Death Note.
No,
I know nothing about anime.
I'm not an anime guy, man. I've tried it because it's such a big like thing, but it's just not my thing.
My God, there is no diversity among us. We might as well be the same person.
I'm not. I'm just not. I've tried.
I liked Halloween 2017. Guy. Oh, I didn't. Big differences. I am the same way. I'm not huge on anime. Cowboy Bebop is by far my favorite anime production of all time. Other than that, it's just Studio Ghibli stuff and the occasional oddball thing. I watched some Lupin the Third recently and enjoyed that. I never even really got into Attack on Titan, which is pretty universally loved. I like One Punch Man. It's pretty limited for me. So I'm not against anime. It's just not something that has ever really been strongly appealing to me. So
yeah, same. Last one from Mikey. What's your most anticipated movie from 2019?
Did he not listen to our 2018 top 10 episode, Mikey?
Mike.
It's kind of sounding like he didn't.
Goddamn. I'm going to go real quick and just say The Lighthouse, because The Witch is just too damn good to not, like... I'm really intrigued by that Hereditary follow-up or whatever, but The Lighthouse has got to take, like, everything I've heard from it, I'm just like, I like that decision. I like that decision. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, me too. The Lighthouse, and then if I had to pick another one, it would be Jordan Peele's Us, for sure.
Mine are both of those: The Lighthouse, Us, Avengers. Despite all things,
wow,
to see how Avengers finally concludes, because I'm a fan of that series.
You know it's not going to end, Randy.
Well, I am excited to see how the Avengers franchise closes up the Thanos problem. Let's put it that way. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is the new Tarantino that's coming out. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the Addams Family animated. I'm really excited to see how they handle that in CG, because I really like the style of the original comic strips, and I like the 90s, movies and etc. that came out around that. And then Pet Sematary. So those are mine.
Cool.
Good picks. So our last question to tackle here was submitted by good Sir Hydraberg. He says, reference a time where you were totally frustrated / astonished at another cast member for either rating a movie too high or way too low, and name the cast member and the film.
And shit on them.
Yeah,
that's
and then
easy.
He goes on to give the example of Cesar giving Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 a 5 stars.
I mean, you might as well just ask what we thought about Cesar giving a 5 to that movie.
I mean, that has to be my pick. And if you listen to that episode, it's like clearly I'm just like I just have no understanding of the situation. It's like
where am I?
Well, it wasn't just that. It's like I thought you took these ratings seriously. Like, not even
betrayed.
Not even in a pretentious kind of way, but just like, man, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, that literally is the pit. The only other thing I can reference, and we talked about a little bit more, is like the Sleepaway Camp, and it makes a little more sense to me now because like of Rob's taste over time, and I'm like, okay, this is what Rob likes. It's dumb, but that's what he likes. But with Cesar, it literally made no sense to me, and it still makes no sense. Like, why would you give that movie a 5 star? It doesn't, under any kind of logic, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to compete with that. And other than that, like, there's really just a general feeling that occasionally, especially when we were picking our own films, that people would be skewed towards their own films, and then whether or not you're interested in a film on a certain night might have a significant say on it. Back when we were doing things all on the same night, watching a movie together and then reviewing it, which isn't always the case anymore. Like that can skew things. So, but in terms of a direct correlation, I mean, he nailed it. Heidelberg called him out. Like Cesar's 5-star doesn't make sense for Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 any more than anything else. Like I love Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I am way too generous to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. And I believe I gave that movie a 3 or right around there or something. Like that is more than it. That is more than it deserves. Yeah. Certainly. So like what it deserves is to be maligned for like an absolute money grab in the worst sense of the word. But it's so blatant and bald-faced that it's almost endearing. It's like, you guys are scamps. What are you even trying to do? Like I don't know. I think you can't get a better example than that for us.
Yeah. The only other thing, Sleepaway Camp, which I mentioned, but on the opposite end of the scale, like I was like, why did Rob rate this movie so high? The only other thing that really cracks me up that I don't think is deserved, but it's not as extreme, is Rob hating Creep. I think that shit is hilarious. He gives it 0.5, and I don't think it's a great movie. I don't think it's a 5-star movie. It just, I don't think it deserves a 0.5, and I think it is hilarious that Rob thinks that is the worst dog shit movie of like. I love it.
I think I make a good case though.
I mean, and that's why it's like number 3 or number. It's not top, but I like on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm just like, it's
a mediocre
it's
movie.
Not as, it's medium. It's hard to defend because I don't care because it doesn't fucking matter because it's such a like a regular movie. But it's 0.5 is like
the range of that movie should be 2 to 4, like out of 5.
Oh no.
Yeah, no. I agree. So that's the only other one.
Like your personal taste. I could see people giving it a 4. I don't see people giving it a 5 really, or not that many. But I think the average should be somewhere in there.
That's the only other one that comes to mind. So
the only one that I would like to offer up that hasn't been mentioned already is, our good boy Rick Ross. He was a little buzzed when we were talking about Krampus, but he gave it a 1 star.
Sure.
He gave it a 1 star.
Especially because he was talking about how good it was, or like the good elements of it.
Yeah.
That is a good mention, though. Solid 1 star.
That's another classic episode. If you haven't listened to that, go listen to our Krampus show. It's a good time.
That is quite the shit show.
It's a good time if you like listening to drunk assholes be drunk assholes, which, I mean, if you made it this far, fuck it.
Yeah.
Randy drinking straight from the goddamn bottle.
To the face.
I'm already out of soju. Damn.
That's very funny. Okay. So yeah, that's the last question that we had to answer. Just real quick, thanks for everybody that did submit questions for our Q&A segment. We definitely appreciate you guys sending all your stuff in. That went longer than I anticipated for sure. So let's real quick, let's listen to our last little clip that was sent in. So this one comes from Nicole, who is also a native Floridian. She's got her own podcast as well. Chiaroscuro. She's got a blog. Definitely check all of her stuff out.
She's got a new podcast as well, right? The Disney Disney Natives.
Yeah.
She's a big Disney fan.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and hear what Nicole has to say. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks for sending that in. We really appreciate it. Nicole and her husband David, they made the trip up a couple times to guest on some of our podcasts in the past, and super cool people. And it's I love, like, Nicole has always been waving that screaming and creaming flag. Like,
she has.
She's always been a fan of it, and I love that. And it's I'm gonna hand it over to you, Justin. Screaming and Creaming is always Justin's thing. Why don't you tell, like, if you have no idea what Screaming and Creaming is, clarify what it is, and give Nicole what she wants.
Yeah, so special request from Nicole, and just real shot, like, it's kind of like Nicole, like, it's really endearing to hear, because Ex Machina was like so long ago, and at this point we've been doing this for like 4.5 years now.
Oh my
and
God.
Like, just to think about like Nicole, it's like, oh, she's like a friend. Like, like Nicole is just like our friend, but like to think about like, yeah, we wouldn't have met her like through the podcast, and she's like such a great person, and she like and it's just so strange to think back like, oh my God, like the time it's been and how it all came about. So we love Nicole. Definitely check out her podcast. But yeah, so Screaming and Creaming back in the day, man, we used to all get together either at the twins' place, the OGs, or at Rob and Randy's place, and watch a movie all together. So we would watch it all together and then cast about it as soon as we were done watching the movie. So it was like a 3-hour, 4-hour event every like Wednesday or whatever we did it. And near their neighborhood, like in their neighborhood, was the Dreamette, which was a just little local place that just made some baller ass cheap ice cream that we go again.
Stop serve.
Yes, and then every now and then though too is also if you've ever been to Florida, there is Publix supermarket, and they make these like custom ice creams, and I'm just like, I really like ice cream. So my whole thing was like, every time we cast is like, since we're watching the movie together, is like I bring the ice cream. And so we did a Screaming and Creaming segment where I would talk about what ice cream did I watch tonight, and I try to like go through the whole menu of the Dreamette and then go through like all the custom and like seasonal ones of Publix. So we cut that off after 100 because there's only so many creams you can eat. Like there's only so much. It ended with a ice cream cake, but we're bringing it back tonight. Special request from Nicole. Me and Randy have some Screaming and Cream, and we sought out some cream for this week. I am in Korea, so it's a little different out here, but I've talked about it a couple of times. One thing that is some hot shit out here in Korea is these waffle ice cream sandwiches, and they are fucking dope. So I'll start with, they make these custom waffles, and they're not like the big ass like fluffy kinds where they're like super deep, the deep like pools in them, but they're kind of like more like thinner, crispier, but like the batter has like this hint of like cinnamon and a little bit of vanilla. So like the outside, it's essentially becomes a taco because they like split it in half. And it's like, it's not like super toasted, but it's not super soft either. So it's pretty perfect, like in the texture of the waffle outside. The one that I got this week, on the inside of that waffle taco, they put Nutella on the inside, so that's fucking delicious. So it's just like lined with Nutella on the inside. I got the vanilla ice cream, which in Korea is like the best damn vanilla ice cream I've had. I think it's because the milk difference out here. Every advertisement for any ice cream place
human
out here,
milk.
Well, it says organic, so I'm not sure
organic,
like what the big difference
milk
is, but it's really delicious. And then I got the Oreo cookie crumble like mixed in or whatever. So that was my Screaming and Creaming of the week. It's absolutely delicious. It's humongous. I'll post a picture up on the Instagram of it. I took a picture specifically for Nicole, but that's my Screaming and Creaming this week. I specifically sought it out, and that is some hot shit in Korea right now.
Yeah, so I mean, in a similar vein, I have not participated in Screaming and Creaming because that was sort of Juice's thing back when it was in functionality. Juiced. But that being said, he's in Korea now, and he has sort of semi-limited options. It's like, at least by his report. So in my travels, I've actually come across a few local brands that I want to go ahead and shout out since we've got the opportunity. First off, in DC, there's a ice cream shop or an ice cream conglomerate, whatever, a group of people making ice cream called Ginny's Ice Cream, which make a great number of different ice creams. And if you get a chance to go to DC, I would recommend those. Just hop into their store. They have a few storefronts, at least the one. I have not been to more than one, but I think there's more than one. And they have tons of different options, and it's all very like, it's very, very liberal. It's very organic and fucking all that shit. So go there if you want. Here in Santa Barbara, where I am now, there is a company called McConnell's, and they've been around for a while, and we've been like eating the shit out of McConnell's since we've been here. There's a few different specific flavors that I would highly recommend. If you get a chance to come out here, there's the whiskey praline. That's my number one. whiskey praline.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, they have some sort of like unassuming flavors that you wouldn't expect. I've heard tale that their olive oil flavored ice cream is great, but I have not tried it because that does not sound great to me. I will try it and I will report back if there's interest. But this fucking whiskey praline is so good. It's like got caramel, it's got the praline, it's got pecans, it's got a whiskey flavor, and depending on at what point it's hard scoop. So depending at what point down the bucket of ice cream you go, it could taste more or less like whiskey. I've noticed this because I eat it so fucking much. There's that. They also have like an Earl Grey and buttered biscuit flavored, which is way better than it sounds.
Damn.
It's fucking delicious. There's a cardamom and ginger that was seasonal. I think they just stopped serving. It was so good. Fucking McConnell's, man. It's good shit. And they have a few shops here in Santa Barbara. But their ice cream goes out sort of regionally. They also have here in Santa Barbara, there's a place called Mission Street Ice Cream that serves their ice cream, and they serve a hell of a lot more, a better bang for your buck. So if you're in the area, go there. There's also a bunch of pictures of all the celebrities that have been there. It's fucking crazy. Fucking like Taylor Swift and shit have been there. It's crazy. So there, go. It's great. Fucking McConnell's whiskey praline. Get your shit. I'm gonna drink some whiskey for real now.
Sounds dope. Straight from the bottle. There it is again. YouTube.
Cool. Screaming and creaming. Thanks, fellas. I don't really eat ice cream that often. I need to rearrange my priorities, obviously. So I don't have much to contribute here. So sorry. But let's go ahead and get into the next segment. So this one's going to be Justin's little game here that we are tentatively calling Know Your Crew.
Know ya, boo.
I'm calling it Who Talking Now?
So, all those.
Yep. This is Know Ya Boo, and essentially I sent out some questions for the crew to answer, and we will try to guess each other's answers. So it's just 4 questions, so we'll try to go through it pretty quick. I know this episode is running a little long, but so the first question that we're going to guess, it's going to be like our new Rotten Tomatoes segment, is I spelled it wrong. I said was. But what is your favorite decade of horror? So what is your favorite decade of horror is what we're all going to guess. So let's start. I'm assuming everybody has their answers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody has their answers. And let's do me and Bob. Let's try to guess Randy's answer first. So what do you think, Bob, is Randy's favorite decade of horror?
For Randy, I think it's the 80s.
The 80s, I'll say...
Dead air.
The 90s.
Okay.
The 90s.
The 90s.
Okay.
It's the 80s.
Okay. I wanted to try to be different. I thought that would be it, but I knew like Puppet Master and like I don't know.
Well,
there were
89.
a couple.
That's 89.
Oh, it is. Shit. Well, then I fucked myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Like I never give a straightforward answer ever. It's 80s in interest of making your game work. But if I was to actually pick a 10-year period, I chose 1975 to 1985.
Okay.
Because it has Evil Dead 1 and 2, it has Sleepaway Camp, it has Videodrome, The Thing,
Halloween.
It has all of the slashers, it has Poltergeist, The Fly. In the 70s section, it has Jaws, Halloween, The Exorcist,
almost
Eraserhead,
70s too,
Body Snatchers, fucking Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland, fucking Houseu. It's all there. So like that's my personal preference, and it's subject to change because Lord knows every period has their clunkers and their winners, but
sure.
When going through sort of like the top tier releases for those sections, 75 to 85 for me, but 80s is more apt to our game.
Okay. So let's do Bob's now, which I feel like I'm going to pick 80s for Bob. Favorite decade of horror. Randy, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think it can be anything else really for Bob. If it's not 80s, I got to think 90s for Rob.
Don't box me.
I'm boxing you.
What is it? 2010s, Rob, is it? What is it?
Yeah, it's the 80s. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So this is just an exercise in us agreeing, basically.
Well, okay. I'm gonna try to. I think my answers are gonna be hard for you guys to predict.
For
I wasn't trying to be like. These are my honest answers. Like when I was like answering these questions, I feel like they're honest, but they're not something I specifically talk about a whole lot. So
1910s.
So
before we started this game, I figured Randy would be 80s, but Justin, I think you're the 70s.
Okay.
I almost went 70s.
Why do you think that, Bob?
I know how much you dig Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the 70s, like as a decade, is just more akin to that like grimy,
visceral,
rounded sort of aesthetic, where the 80s is a little more like slapsticky, crazy, you know? Yeah.
Randy,
70s.
And I'm going to do a divide and conquer thing here. I kind of think Rob's onto something there, but I also think the 90s, because it's where you were formed, you were molded by it, as Kate might say.
Molded. You know how much I love 13 Ghosts, Randy.
I sure do. You love 13 Ghosts, and you also like love Scream. Like there's a number
good choices. Yeah.
There's a number of films that I know that you love from the 90s, which, you know, isn't kind of unfair because we all love movies from all these decades.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in an interest of divide and conquer, I'll go 90s, Rob will go 70s, and if you're 80s, we're all going to hurt you.
So, no, neither of you are right, and this is an honest opinion. I'm not trying to be like contrary or anything like that. Dude, I legit going through the list of numbers and just overall movies. I'm going with 2010s, and I know I know that's a taboo thing to say, dude. The Renaissance is fucking real, dude. It's fucking real. And let me just go through some of the top like horror movies of the 2010s. And like, of course, there's the classics from the 70s. You're right. Like, I love Texas Chainsaw, I love Scream and stuff like that. But I feel like the overall quantity of quality movies in the 2010s is so hard to ignore. You're talking like The Conjuring, It Follows, Cabin in the Woods, The Babadook, Get Out, Insidious, The Fucking Witch, which I think is like my #1 horror movie now. You're Next, you know, Sinister, The Green Room, A Quiet Place, Hereditary. I mean, the list is so fucking long of quality, like so. Train to Busan, The Wailing, which is now one of my like top 10 horror movies, like The Invitation. The list is so long of like amazing horror movies. 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's just it's hard to ignore for me, and just like out of overall enjoyment, I know it's taboo because like the classics and shit like that, but I gotta go with 2010s.
I mean, I don't blame you, but I'm gonna say that I made a similar list for the 80s, and I also made a similar list for the 70s.
Yeah.
So like if you go through, that's the thing, is like it's almost like, do you like good movies? Try and count how many there are in each decade.
Yeah.
Like
and that's the thing. Like, I think it's just like
it's
overall
arbitrary
enjoyment.
kind of.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. If you like, I love Babadook. I love Train to Busan. I fucking love The Witch. I love all those movies. And I think you're right. I fucking Get Out. Like, those movies are fucking amazing. But there's amazing movies in every decade, so it's almost like a moot point to even delineate things that way. It's like movies are either fucking amazing, they're pretty good, they're okay, or they're the rest. Like that's where we're at. Or they're the fucking shits, which is where Blood Wars goes. Underworld Blood Wars.
Blood farts.
Underworld Blood farts.
So let's go around and see. The next question is number 2. Your favorite cooter you love to hate. Your favorite cooter that you love to hate. So essentially, it's kind of like your favorite cooter.
Here's the issue with that. Well, is it like, because you said love to hate? I had a little issue with this.
Okay.
You know, not just in terms of like being able to specify. So, like, first of all, there's some obvious answers. To me, like, Jeremiah Sand is the obvious answer, but we just went over him, and I didn't want to focus too much attention on him. And Lola and the Loved Ones, sort of the same thing, just not as funny as Jeremiah Sand. So, like, Lola from the Loved Ones, I should say. So I tried to pick some things that we had not spoken about in a while. And I would say that I loved hating.
Hang on. Well, don't tell us. We have to guess.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a guessing game, Randy.
I'm sorry.
So see, I didn't. I understand like your point. I had a so let's guess for Randy since he's about to give it away.
Yeah, I just told you what it's not. So tell me what it is.
So I think Randy's is Little Shop of Horrors. The Dentist.
That's a good guess.
That was my guess because I know how much he loves that movie, and that dude like held the top cooter spot for a hot minute.
That's a good guess. I think I'm gonna go with Brad from Night of the Creeps.
Brad.
That's a bold guess, Bob, and I appreciate it, but it is not the truth. Oren Scrivello from Little Shop. That is not.
Yeah.
That is not.
It's not.
That is not my number one, excluding Jeremy and Lola.
Okay.
But it is as close. It is written down, which means it's as close as you can get. It's my runner-up. So the number one, do I love to hate? That's what I was going off of when I chose this. The person I love to hate is Jeremy Artemage from Get Out, which is the son, the younger.
Good choice.
That fucking guy can eat all of my shit. That guy doesn't get enough screen time to really nail it, as far as I'm concerned. I think that honestly, I would have liked to have seen more just so I could hate him more. But like, if I'm going for the non-obvious response, that's my first thought is Jeremy Artemage, because he is so fucking terrible. He's so like disgusting, and everything he says is just shrouded in superiority and this desire to see somebody fail. It's everything that you want out of a cooter and more, because I hate it more than most.
And that's the one who didn't like. That was before the profile started, but that's a good throwback.
Yeah.
For me, that works. So
good choice.
All right, Randy, let's guess Bob's favorite cooter.
Well, I think Bradster is a pretty good choice.
That was my choice too. I thought Rob really likes those like kind of, like goofy, schlocky kind of movies.
That's not
or
whatever. Bad choice either, because he is very much smarmy. He's very much. I don't know. I don't want to focus too much on him and discount other players, but because he brought that up, that almost solidified my choice.
Me too. Yeah, and that was already my choice too, because I know, like, I don't know, that just kind of fits Bob's profile. But so that's, I guess, Brad as well.
So we'll go with Bradster. Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, you guys are gonna be kicking yourself in the ass.
Oh.
My number one favorite cooter to hate, I gotta go with Joseph from Creep. Fucking Mark Duplass.
Oh, wow.
I hate that character.
You focused on the hate too. Look at you.
Yeah. But I do hate that character, but I enjoy hating that
Mark
character.
Duplass. Mark Duplass, the actor. I mean, character.
No, Joseph, the character. I also hate the protagonist, which I forget his name too. I just hate that movie. It's a terrible movie. It's bullshit.
It's a tough question to answer because it includes the word hate. You love to hate. That's such a contradiction.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But
it's interesting too.
Mark, he's just, somebody hit him in the face. Like the whole time I watched that movie, just hit that dude in the face and then get in your car and drive away. And then that's the end of the fucking movie.
That's a good, I can't believe we missed out on that one. You're right.
Yeah.
Creep 2, pretty good though.
Good.
Actually,
good.
I kind of like Creep 2. I don't know.
Creep 2 is pretty good. I'm actually shocked that you feel that way, but when you told me that, I was like, good, because it's not that bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
All right, boys, who do you think is my favorite cooter to hate? My favorite.
It's got to be Jeremiah Sands.
Yeah,
it's gotta
too
be.
Obvious, but
I feel like,
Sands,
I almost think that you wouldn't choose that for the same reason I didn't, because it's too obvious. But I don't know who the secondary would be. So Jeremiah.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. He's too good not to pick. He's too good not to pick.
He's so much fun to hate because he's so loathsome and
also he's the villain, and he has as a cooter. I don't know if any other cooter has an arc quite like Jeremiah has. I love when he breaks down at the end of Mandy, like when he drops the accent, when he's begging for his life, when he's offering to suck some dude's dick, like that. Like he is the fucking best cooter I've ever seen in my goddamn life. I could never not pick until somebody else comes along.
Honestly,
I can't not fucking pick him.
The honest truth is that is the only answer, and Like he is the proto cooter. There's no options beyond him unless you specifically set him aside. So I can't blame you, but at the same time, it's like, man, how do you even have this as a game if you don't discount him? Like,
well, know you boo, So
no,
let's go around. And next question is your favorite Scream Queen, your number one favorite Scream Queen.
Bruce
so,
Willis.
well, Bruce Willis.
No,
we'll
I said
start with
first. Did you say Bruce Willis?
Who? I thought you said Bruce.
I heard Bruce Willis too. Yeah.
I'm drunk, so obviously I'm slurring into popular celebrities' names.
Let's guess for Randy. Actually, you guys are gonna have.
I have a top three. I'm gonna say that I have a top.
Okay.
Three.
You have a top three. You're gonna have to help me with this because I'm terrible with names. My guess is what's her Quigley? What's her name?
Linnea Quigley.
Yeah, that's my guess. That's my guess for Randy.
Linnea Quigley. Okay. Bob.
Good guess. I'm gonna go with Jamie Lee Curtis.
You guys fucking nailed me. Jamie Lee Curtis is my one. Like, I don't know how you get anything else, to be honest. Like, to me, like the reason she is like noted with every Scream Queen is because she is the Scream Queen for today's age. Until like we hit 50 years on and there's some like a whole batch of other people that we don't know.
Yeah,
she's the one. And Linnea is, to me, like she's the sweetheart. Like she's the person that was in so many of my favorite movies, for not necessarily the like movies that I like for because they're terrible or because they're good. It doesn't matter. Like I love what she does. She made a career out of it. I respect the fuck out of that. I love the fucking Linnea Quigley Scream Queen workout shit that she did. And then like the one person that you guys didn't mention on my top three is Danielle Harris, who I fucking love. I actually really like Halloween 4, and I'm pretty okay with Halloween 5. But beyond that, like when she like became an adult, basically, I saw her on Boy Meets World. She was on an episode of that, and she was like it was like a Halloween episode where there was like, oh, is there a murderer? It was like a dream sequence or something. And she was suspected to be the murderer, but she was fucking like, she was a celebrity crush for me when I was in high school.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So like she has a special place in my heart for that. And then she kept like doing horror shit, and I like it and I respect it. So she's on my number 3. But Jamie Lee Curtis, Linnea Quigley, Danielle Harris, those are my top 3 Scream Queens.
All right.
Yep.
Cool.
Nice.
Let's guess for Bob. I think this is going to be the Jamie Lee Curtis. I think it's impossible not to be.
It's tough, man. It's tough to say anything else, but I feel like Rob is going to skew us. I think he's going to...
Nah, he's going to fuck us, huh?
I think he might fuck us. I don't know. I think out of respect for a person who made their career doing just Scream Queen as opposed to somebody like the way I like Linnea Quigley.
Yeah.
Curtis obviously transcended in some capacity. She went to different categories or different genres of movie. So you can say Jamie Lee Curtis, and I think you have a fair chance of being right, but I'm going to also say Linnea Quigley.
Okay.
You are both incorrect.
Ooh.
Oh, no, you boo. What you got, Bob?
I think her name's Barbara.
Barbara Crampton. That's a good choice. It's
Yeah.
Barbara or it's Linnea or it's Jamie, honestly. Danielle is a dark horse for me, personally.
I don't even know that Danielle's a dark horse. I think that's a solid pick, actually.
Well,
but for me,
okay. Out of the 4.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Barbara Crampton with like, I don't know, all the great stuff she did in the 80s, and then like she came back in the early 2000s with Your Next.
She's still doing stuff, man.
Yeah, and
Puppet Master. She was great in that.
Specifically when she came back and did Your Next, she had totally retired from acting, and when she did come back, she like said outright that she like dedicated herself to the horror genre after doing Your Next, and she's just waving the horror flag, man. And like all the stuff she did in the 80s is great, but I just like, what really made me like pick her out of all the other obvious choices is the fact that she's like still doing it like full force and like still waving that flag, and like she's so dedicated and just like leaning into the horror community and like making great movies. Even now, I don't know, man. She's I'm all in for the Crampton. Obviously, Jamie Lee Curtis, Linnea Quigley, fantastic. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Barbara Crampton.
Cool.
That's a choice.
All right.
That's a good choice,
all right,
man.
boys.
It's a pretty good choice.
Lock down the juice. What you got?
Felissa Rose.
So here you go. I picked 3 because I know I can be obscure sometimes. I picked 3, so you have a decent shot of hitting it. Well, I don't know, but also remember, I think outside the box a little bit.
Outside the box. Okay, you're giving us a hint.
Well, yeah. Now I don't think I'm right.
my first thought would have been Nev Campbell. What, Rob?
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
That's exactly.
That would have been my first choice, but you said think outside the box. I don't know for sure that really fits outside the box because it's a scream queen in the classical sense. So I don't know. Beyond that, like Sigourney Weaver, maybe.
Heather Langenkamp, maybe.
No, she's a pretty traditional scream queen.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's outside of the box. Maybe I'm fucked because I thought that fucking. I don't know. I thought that. I don't know. I don't have a lot of.
You go with Neve, I'll go with Heather, and we'll see where we're at.
No, I'm gonna say what's her fucking name from what's the woman from A Quiet Place? Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt. I'm gonna say Emily Blunt because she is modern. She's modern scream queen, and she did I considered her because she did such a great job with that birthing scene in fucking A Quiet Place, which isn't my favorite movie, but that is definitely the most effective scene.
It's a great
scene. So
you know what? Swerve. You go with her. I'll go with Chloe Grace Moretz.
Okay. All right.
Bob with this double swerve. So Bob's gonna take it on 2 counts because I did 3. I put Chloe on there.
Nice.
I also put Heather because I was like, well, if we're gonna talk about traditional, like, I didn't want it to be. I wanted to have like one option for the traditional, so I put Heather on there. Is Nancy, and the last one, which I was like, well, that's why I picked 3, was Anya Taylor-Joy or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Like modern screen queens. And the thing about Anya Taylor-Joy and Chloe Moretz, like, I really respect them because in the same kind of thing you were saying, like, oh, they're waving like the horror flag, like these young, like beautiful, like up and coming actresses, I love that they seem to be like dedicated, not like oh, we're only gonna do horror, but they're like so proud to like be in these movies and elevate them to the level, they're like, they don't seem, especially for like young up and coming actresses, they don't seem to like shun it away, like, oh, don't associate, like some actresses were like, what was that fucking, like Texas Chainsaw 4 or whatever that chick's name, like people who are like ashamed that they came up in horror, like these girls, like,
yeah, they about Renee Zellweger.
Yeah, but like some women who like get into horror because it's an easy way into the industry, and then they're like ashamed of it. Like, I love that these women are now like so popular and huge up and coming actresses, and they're like still like continuing to be in these movies and elevate them to like a higher status. So I really respect that and appreciate that. But if we're talking in a classical sense, just from a character standpoint, like fucking Nancy's a badass, man. Like, of all the scream queens, like in that first, like, I mean, like going in and like getting Freddy, like nobody fucking believes her dad's a cop. Like, I mean, she's so fucking badass. So that was like my classical kind of choice, just and from a character, not as like a person standpoint or what she's done with her career, but just as a like a character standpoint.
See, I almost split this category up between like roles, like Laurie Strode as a role, versus careers, which Linnea has a career. Yeah, I almost did that, but yeah, it's a tough question, but I think all the women we mentioned work for sure.
On 2, he mentioned 2 out of my 3, so
I'm shocked about that, by the way. But yeah, all good choices all around. All good.
Yeah. All right. So let's go question number 4, favorite horror franchise. So I feel like Bob's going to be a lock, but I'm a little, I don't know about Randy. So let's start with Randy, I guess. So Bob, what do you think is Randy's favorite horror franchise?
I'm going with Evil Dead for Randy.
Okay. I was going to pick Friday the 13th. I'm going to pick Friday the 13th for Randy as a horror franchise. Randy, are we so wrong?
See, that's the difference between a dude and the best man right there. Evil Dead, man. Evil Dead. That is
Okay.
the series for me. Like, I understand why you would go to Friday the 13th, and I certainly have love for that series. But even within the realm of slashers, I think that Nightmare is preferable to me because I like like not absurdist, but the sort of dreamlike qualities in general.
Yeah.
Like the ability to sort of do anything with your visuals. But as far as actual horror franchises, Evil Dead has Evil Dead 1. It has Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. There's fucking Army of Darkness. There's The Evil Dead in the 2000s. And there's fucking what is
Ash
that?
vs. Evil Dead.
Ash vs. Evil Dead.
3 glorious seasons.
See, here's the thing. All of those are good. Can you think of a horror franchise where all of their entries are good? That is the only series I can think of where that's the case. And not only that, but it was one of my entry level fucking horror franchises. I watched every fucking movie in that franchise that existed at the time in a single night. And I think that's really, like, as much as I liked horror and I was interested in horror, that's what solidified me as a horror fan. So in a personal sense and a objective sense, all of those things, I think Evil Dead is the winner. Halloween is a close second, but it actually has some movies in it that I think are fucking dog shit. So
yeah,
it can't win for me. Like, if I'm being at that point, I have to be objective in terms of numbers. How many movies do I like versus how many I don't? I like everything in the Evil Dead series. I like it all.
Well, good.
Yeah.
All right, Rob. We got a guess for Rob, Randy. I guess Randy.
It's Halloween, man.
Yeah, it is Halloween.
If it's not
Rob's
Halloween, then
pigeonholed.
Honestly, I don't think that he would have the stomach to say anything but Halloween.
Yeah.
And if he does, like, shock me and tell me I'm wrong, but I think that it's Halloween series.
Rob, is it Halloween series?
It's not, no.
Oh my God.
And I'm not doing this to, like, trick you guys or anything. Like, that was for sure an option that came up. So, like, if I have to pick franchise, I'm gonna go with Scream. Yeah. Going with Scream. That's my favorite franchise, man. It's the only movie in Scream to me that I don't absolutely love is number 3. 1, 2, and 4, I fucking love.
I like
those
4
movies.
more than 3. Interesting.
I like it a lot more than 3.
I agree.
Like
3 is kind of dog.
I might have to rewatch 4 because 4 did not leave very much of an impression on me.
Really? But 3 is not good.
I love.
Well, 3, I don't argue with that really.
Yeah.
But
I love Halloween for sure, but they're like Resurrection is unwatchable. H2O is fine. Part 6 is fine.
No, it's
the
not.
Rob Zombie movies are dog shit. Like, there's a lot of bad stuff going on in there. But as far as like Scream goes, I love 3 out of the 4 movies. That franchise is fucking incredible. The original Scream is just by far one of my favorite movies of all time. I can watch it any day, every day. I fucking love that movie, man. So I'm going with Scream. Yeah.
That's
all right, boys.
All right. Well, we fucked up, but I like that answer. That's a sound answer.
Yeah.
Juice, what about you? What are we going to do about Juice,
boys.
Bobby?
Go ahead.
I mean, for my money, I got to think I'm going experiential with Juice. And I think that, like, as much as he probably doesn't love every entry in the series, I think that there is a nostalgia and a love for a specific series called Saw. I
appreciate that guess.
I appreciate that guess as well. That was such a college.
I think that's definitely a wrong answer based on your response, but I feel pretty confident that it's near and dear to your heart in some capacity.
It is. It's a good guess. Rob?
It's hard to pick, honestly. I'm gonna go.
I'm not as open as you guys. You know, keep it all close to the chest.
God, you love the fountain. You're just the fountain. You love the fountain. You know it.
There's a few ways you could go. I love that Randy picked Saw. That's fucking great. I'm gonna go a little more like classic, and I think I'm gonna go. I don't know if it's right, but I'm gonna go with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay. Yep, both wrong. I also too, and I was kind of surprised, but I picked Scream too. I picked Scream as well.
No shit. Wow.
I did, and for the exact same reason. Like I wrote it down. I was like, Scream 1, 2, and 4 are all really enjoyable films that, like, for the most part, I will never just be like, no, I don't want to watch these movies. 3 is really bad, but when you're looking at like a series, same thing you said. Like when you're like comparing and like how many are in this series, like I love that they haven't run it through the ringer. That for fucking Lillard, man, you know how much I fucking love Lillard.
Yeah.
Lillard,
one movie.
well, I know,
so
but still,
good.
it really is, and it's just I had to pick Scream just like numbers wise, and like just like my enjoyment. I could throw almost like 75% of Scream movies on at any time and enjoy them, and that's a solid percentage. So yeah, I went with Scream.
Yeah, and I have such a distinct memory of my mother conning me into watching that original Scream movie. She rented it from Blockbuster. My dad hates horror movies, and she like talked me into watching it with her. It scared the shit out of me. I hated it at the time, but it's like, you know, I fucking love it. It's so good. Anyway.
All right, well, that's No You Boo.
Yep.
It seems like Rob is the best friend out of all of us.
We're terrible friends. That's a fact.
I'm a really good listener.
Here's a thing that's going to happen. I'm going to go use the restroom.
Do it. Yeah, we've been drinking.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've got one more game left in the show. This is going to be the longest show we've ever done.
I know. We were blown away when our top 10 of 2018 was long.
Yeah, that breached 3 hours. I think that was like 3 hours, 15 minutes.
Here's the thing. When I laid this out for Rob, he also wanted to review a movie. And I was like, Rob, it's going to be too long.
No, well, that was before we like locked all the stuff.
Yeah, but still. Like, even if you cut out 1 or 2 segments, it would have been long.
I guess, yeah. And also at that time, we didn't have all the questions in. So, like, we got more and more questions.
That's true. We did get a lot of questions, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got another segment, another game that we want to play. This is the last game of the show. It's tentatively going to be referred to as Who Said That? That's the working title. So like I've said before, I've gone back through the past 100 episodes. So on episode 100, I did something similar where I went back through all the previous episodes and I like found clips and extracted them and made like a clip reel. So I did that exact same thing for episode 200. I went through episode 101 through 199 and I chose choice clips and cut them out and compiled a clip reel that's going to be played after this game. But while I was doing that, I heard a lot of crazy shit that we said, and I thought, maybe we can try and guess who said what. So I've got a few choice quotes here that I'm going to blast through, and
who talking?
Randy and Justin's going to try and guess who talking exactly. So here we go. Let's get into it. First one I got. Here we go. Who said, "Can we go ahead and sell out"?
Randy.
I think that's definitely me.
Randy.
I honestly, the only thing that gives me pause is that I think it's an assumed thing that we already sold out. So
we've nothing to sell.
Yeah, that's the problem with selling out at this level.
You're also both wrong. It was Justin.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm also willing to sell my soul, so.
Not much there.
What are our options here?
Okay, yeah, I should have started with that. You're right. So we've got Justin, Andy, Cesar, and myself.
And Bob. Okay.
Just those 4.
All right.
Okay.
We can do that.
So no guest or anything. Okay.
Ooh, you're okay there.
Just the 4. Next one. You spit Coke on my face.
Rob. I'm gonna say
Rob.
Bob got Coke spat on his face.
Yeah, he did. That sounds like a Rob situation.
That is 100% correct. I said that.
Who spat on your face?
Randy.
Yeah,
It's fucking Randy.
God damn it.
The spit take king of America, Randy. This motherfucker will spit some shit on you.
I want it known that this fucking podcast and its website and all that shit is on my fucking resume and it's on my website, which means all future employees know that I spat on your face. So
You did.
Bullet for me.
Finish that bottle, guy. Holy Jesus.
To the face.
Holy shit.
Next up, who said, I like Limp Bizkit unironically?
It's either me or Rob. God damn it. No, maybe it's old Bish. Maybe it's old Bish. Nah.
I think it's Juice.
Yeah, it probably is me. It could be Rob. It's me.
It's Cesar.
It was old Bish. Okay, God, I thought.
It's Cesar,
I think because I brought up a video of theirs that was horror themed, and I think he said, "I like Limp Bizkit." Unironically, it's weird that I remember that.
That's sad for all.
Also,
That's
just to
sad.
be clear,
I'm so glad I was not a consideration.
Yeah, so
for that.
three out of the 4 members of Straight Chillin' like Limp Bizkit unironically.
The Matthews Bridge, man. I don't want any of that shit.
It's got a soft spot in my heart.
I know.
It's just one of those days.
It is, but yeah.
It's just one of those days.
It is.
Fuck you guys.
Next up, who said I got massacred and all I got was this ripped up T-shirt?
That sounds like Randy.
That feels like me.
Yeah, it's Randy.
Hey,
it's Randy.
I didn't get a T-shirt. Let's clear things up now. If I run for office, don't assume I got a T-shirt. I did not.
Next one we got. Who said it's a turd wrapped in a shit covered in diarrhea?
Bob has this obsession with doo-doo.
That's a great guess. Oh, it's an obsession.
Yeah, it is.
Nobody's disputing that but you. That means it's an obsession. Yeah, Rob, sure.
That was Randy. That's all.
I'm that vulgar. That makes sense. Okay.
I thought Rob's doo-doo obsession would hold true.
I don't want to guess myself for every answer. I'm not a fucking sociopath.
Not yet. Next up, who said he's out there doing hookers and banging blow?
Yeah, boy, Soju.
It's Soju.
That was like 2 episodes ago.
I don't remember that specific thing. I just naturally thought.
It's because you weren't there. I was talking about you.
Oh.
It was. I thought it was very funny. But yeah, you're right. It was Justin.
I love that I guessed that without actually even hearing it. Ever.
It means you don't listen to our episodes, Randy.
Oh, has that ever been an illusion that I listen to what we produce? That is not the case.
I'll never understand that. But that is, you were at least consistent. Yeah, you will not listen.
I've listened to a few episodes, but man, are they sparse. Few and far between.
I used to be that way till we got on Spotify. Now I'm online.
Oh, now you got your adult shirt on, and you got your button ups, and you got your tie.
Yeah, I guess.
Next up, who said 29 going on 69?
Juice has 100,000%.
It's gotta be me. Damn, when I was a young man, I was 29.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're both wrong. It was me.
Oh, Bobby, I didn't know you had wit.
Trying to fool us.
Oh,
I don't. Next up, who said we're naming our first child Door?
Door? I'm gonna say myself.
I'll say Old Bish just because we haven't had Old Bish in a while.
That's a good point. I'm gonna say myself though.
It's Randy. Yeah.
Hey.
We're naming our first. I don't remember that at all.
We were talking about The Warm Side of the Door, the song. Deadly Night Part 2. And Becky was in the middle of complaining about how you wouldn't stop singing that song in bed, and you're like, yeah, so we're naming our first child Door. That shit's fucking great.
That's pretty good.
That's still true.
Yeah, we're naming our first child Door.
The warm side of the door.
Next up, who said there's a dong introduced? It can take away the half star.
I think I
said that.
Are you sure?
Well, no, not 100%.
I don't want to you say you, I'm going to say me, because I feel like I definitely brought that up because I always question your Yabos rule.
He does often bring it up, yeah.
Yeah, I think I said that to clarify the rules.
Yeah, it was Justin.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
good for you. Good for you.
I'm pretty sure somebody was like, but there's Yabos. They're trying to tell me how to rate my movie. Don't tell me. There's a dong. A man's got a code.
Don't get too self-righteous, man. It's not that important.
I streamed this shit from Amazon for $2.99. I have a right.
Next up, who said the bitch is back?
Rob.
Cesar. I'm saying Cesar on that one.
Yeah, it was me. That was me.
It was Rob.
What did you say that about?
The only episode I ever missed, we were about to record and I got called into work, and Randy, you hosted the show, so the show immediately following.
So it was terrible. It was terrible. Was that the Life episode?
Life.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. So I came back the next show and said the bitch is back, and did not realize that I was quoting Casper, but Justin realized it for me.
Back, yeah.
Yeah. I was totally quoting Casper.
Man, I hope I hope you have that realization multiple times in life.
I'm sure I will. I am sure.
Here's my toast for my daughter's wedding. Oh, it's a quote from Casper. Shit.
Nah, straight up from Casper.
Oh, fuck.
Next up, who said, what do you call them, Max? Big fat titties?
Saying myself on that shit.
Yeah, I'm going to Randy on that one.
Yeah, it's Randy. It's 100% Randy. Dude, that Hocus Pocus episode we did is really funny.
Is it? I knew.
Obviously, I'm biased or whatever.
When Halloween comes back around, I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We had a good
I don't
time
listen
on
back to my shit at all, so.
Big fat titties.
What do you call them, Max?
Big fat titties? Next up, who said
fat
please
milking titties?
Who said please stop, you're giving me wood?
I think that's Rob. I think that's Bob. That's Bob.
I'm gonna say old Bish.
It was the old Bish.
Oh, shit.
Man with wood. Cesar.
Man owns wood.
He does.
God bless him.
Who said, my boy, Bobby Bibbs, whoa ho, 69?
Okay, do we need a guess? Do we need a guess?
Come on, Rob.
This is Juice Stains. This is Juice Stains 110%.
So, both guessing Juice.
It's me.
Oh, you're going to fucking swerve us.
Oh, it's like Bob or some shit.
It was me making fun of Justin. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Unreasonable, untenable, and unfair.